Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new episode of the MinnMax Show, place about games, friends, getting better. Thank y'all for being here. Big episode, hot episode, red hot. Don't touch your phone. My name is Ben Hansen. I'm joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hello, I'm here.
Joined by Janet Garcia.
Hello, it's time.
It is truly time today. Jeff Marchiafava.
I'm not here. I live in space now.
Only in space. And then we are joined by returning champion, Jenna Stever.
Hello, recording live from my mech, which I designed to look exactly like my office.
Very shrewd. Jenna, you're gone for 1 week, and then we dragged you back in. So sorry for only the brief respite from all things MinnMax.
It doesn't feel like a week. It feels like I've been gone for years. Like I've just come back from the war.
The work was
that's
that
because
intense.
you've been playing Starfield, I think, is what happened.
Yeah, it's because of that and Armored Core. My sense of time is so warped.
Oh, perfect. All right, yeah, in this episode, we're going to be talking about Starfield, diving in there. We're going to be talking about Sea of Stars. If you like sci-fi, this is the episode for you, because Sea of Stars is that new indie RPG. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Armored Core 6, and then back half of the show, we have community questions, of course. Jenna, it's weird, I haven't talked to you yet since I got back, and then kicked you out the door. But thank you for filling in production-wise and on the podcast so many times for those 2 months. All right, pop quiz, hotshot. Best part,
Jesus.
Best part and worst part of filling in for those 2 months.
Oh, that's a good question. The
Thank
best
you.
part was definitely just having like a place where I could sit every week and talk to other people who love games about games.
Right.
Because that is just like, I mean, it's a thing I have piecemeal, but it's a thing that I really miss from working at like a company is like getting to sit and talk to other people who just like really love games about how much we all love games.
Yeah, because you miss so much nuance. Just if you're just reading Twitch chat or just scrolling Twitter, it's like it's better to unpack it in a group discussion, you know?
Yeah, that live energy. I miss that. The thing I liked least is, I'll say the moment there was a second during this recording before you started to do the opening spiel where I was like, don't start talking yet. I have to click this button. Where it's just like, like inherent, very, very, very minor but non-existent anxiety about going live on the internet, which despite I will never fully get over. So there was a moment where I was like, oh God, what button do I have to press? I don't have the interface open. It was like an entire dream where you arrive at school for a test that you haven't studied for. It was like that in 1 second.
Oh, I know that feeling well. This is why we try to be very comforting to all guests on the podcast that you don't got to do anything. There's no local record. You jump on your phone.
I love the no local records.
Yeah, don't
I
worry
hate
about
recording
one
locally.
thing. Do you do that for kind of
I
funny?
should stop offering, to be honest.
Yeah. Hey, let's dive into the meat of this huge episode. First of all, if you're listening to that rundown and you said, where's the Super Mario Wonder? Do these people not have wonder left in their lives? We do. Just as of the time of this recording, we haven't watched that direct yet. So if you want to hear and see more about Super Mario Wonder, you can watch our reaction stream. It should be on MinnMax's YouTube channel right now. You can watch our minds being blown by all that stuff. Also, fun thing, Jeff, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Try to contain your excitement about this. Since this is kind of an Xbox-focused episode with Starfield being the big game of the week and all this fun stuff, we want to do a Xbox code giveaway. So here's how this works, everybody. If you support MinnMax on Patreon at any tier, even the $2 tier, this is just for new or returning supporters, keep in mind. But if you support MinnMax on Patreon, you want to help support independent games media, this Thursday, the 31st, or Friday the 1st, you will be sent an Xbox code. We have, let me squint, 220 Xbox games to give away. So I guess technically the first 220 people to support us on Patreon or return to support us on Patreon on Thursday or Friday, we will message you a code via the Patreon message system. So if you've been on the fence for a while, you've been enjoying our content for a while, you want to unlock some benefits and get a sweet Xbox code, this is your chance, everybody. So patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Jeff, you've been managing those codes. You've seen that pile of Xbox codes, right?
It's huge.
It's ridiculous. Okay, let's get to the good stuff here. The big game everybody wants to hear the big review about. Jeff, everybody 1-2 switch. Here we go. Kick it off. What do we got?
No one ever redeemed that one.
I know it's still. That was one of my parting wishes. Is Jeff has to review everybody 1-2 switch. Goodbye. And then you saw it.
And then no one else mentioned it or like tried to force me to do it, so I just quietly Just did not.
That's the way to go about
All
it.
right, well, what are you gonna do?
I played it if you want me to talk about it. I feel
well-
like people don't want to hear about
Save it for the 210.
In-
Save it
longest
for the
intro
in
we've had in a
24
really long
hours before
time. Why
Starfield
is it-
comes out.
Yeah, let's delay talking about Starfield for another 20 minutes while we
can't.
talk about everybody 1-2 Switch.
We can't. Starfield, one of the biggest games of the year, right up there with Zelda, I'd say. Well, now I guess Baldur's Gate 3. It's kind of this this trilogy of humongo games, but this thing is coming out very soon. Technically, September 1st for people who have the special edition and all that stuff, and then September 6th for the standard edition. But we've all been playing it. Obviously, asteroid, more like Kyle Hilliard, is this is a huge game. There's still a lot that we can
take it out in
unpack.
post.
Okay, sure. There's a lot that we can unpack in future episodes. So this is in the vein of first impressions-ish. But Janet, based on the way you're talking about it, have you played the most of this thing? Where are you at?
Maybe I've rolled credits. 44 hours.
Whoa! Wait, and how long?
44 hours.
Wow, interesting. Were you kind of mainliney?
I mainlined mostly, but I did have to spend an entire day doing side content to grind from level 13 to level 20. So I did a good amount of side content. I also spent a long time grinding for currency to pay off the mortgage of my house. So I would say you could probably mainline it if you really just mainlined it, maybe knocked it down to easy. Maybe I've been hearing from the streets, 20-ish hours.
Really?
A lot of people that I know that finished it and played more naturally are in that high 30s, 40s.
Okay.
People that really go in the weeds have gone as high as 80 for the review cycle.
Sure.
But I'm at 44 credits rolled.
Nice. Wow. Okay. And then Jeffem, how much have you played?
I'm about 25 hours in, and I've done nothing.
Yeah, buddy. All right, full spectrum. We got it. I'm still pretty early as well. I'm maybe 5 or 6 hours. I know it's embarrassing. Forgive me, please. Kyle, I know you're not a big Bethesda guy. I feel like we're kind of in that same camp, so I'm curious how much you've played.
9 hours, which
9
I'm
hours?
learning apparently is half the game.
Well,
if you sprint, I feel like
not
I've
that
done nothing.
many
Yeah.
main missions in it.
Right.
Technically.
I've been sticking with the constellation stuff almost exclusively,
Yeah.
just as a which is how I always approach any open world game. Is I got to stay on the main path for a while just to learn everything and get some stuff. So that's kind of how I'm still sort of mainlining it right now.
Yeah, because I feel like your thing is you hate unlocking cool abilities and stuff later on and realizing, I could have had that while I was doing all those side quests and stuff.
Yeah, he says big open world, no straight line,
Right.
right to the finish.
In my brain, I cut you off after you said you hate unlocking cool abilities, and I was like, "What? When have I ever said that?" But yeah, no, I don't like bashing my head against a puzzle and then a few hours later realizing, "Oh, I just needed to unlock that thing, and I could have." Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway. Yeah.
And then Jenna, how much have you played?
I'm comparable with Kyle. I'm
Okay.
somewhere in the 8 or 9 hour kind
Sweet.
of period. And I'm so amused that y'all feel like you haven't done anything, because I also feel like I've spent 8 hours doing what?
Yeah, well, that is a
don't
question.
know.
Fast traveling.
Let's try and get a rough sense of where everybody's at enthusiasm-wise. It could take forever to go one by one. So let's all make a pitch. The higher the pitch, the more you like it. And then also let's visualize it with your hand and the camera meter for your enthusiasm for this thing. Okay, so it's is the lowest, and then so high pitch you can't even hear it. Okay, so 3, 2, 1, where's everybody at with Starfield? Ooh. Okay, we got a monkey squeal from Jeffem. Janet, you've played the most. Was that the lowest note coming from you?
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh. What? Okay, what's going on, Janet?
It's it is either technically good, maybe a 7. I think maybe
Whoa.
even a 6 out of 10 if I had to give a score to
What
it.
the hell?
Which is funny because I hate scoring on podcasts, so I don't know why I gave a score when no one asked me. But I think there's a lot. So I think the most impressive thing about this game, or the most interesting thing, is the scale and how many systems exist, right? You can do, ship edits. You can be a drug dealer. You can, join these different factions. You can have a house. You can cook. You can craft. You can have outposts. But I don't think the game does a very good job explaining any of those systems and making them interesting or incentivizing them. Why would I do any of these things? There's not really, you can scan and learn about the world, but it's you can scan 4 plants 3 times over to fill the meter. Everything kind of either is confusing or falls flat. I think there's a lot of repetition in the questline structure. I think there is a lot of dullness in the persuasion system. I think the romance is incredibly flat. Like, so many bits of this just don't hit. And it really surprised me because there was so much, I think, hype going into this and expectation. And I just feel like this was fine. Like, I felt about this the way I feel about like Far Cry games, like new Far Cry games, where it's like, okay, it's like something to do. And like, I guess, I will say, without getting too ahead of myself, without spoiling the ending, I think the last few quest lines really do kind of elevate. And I'm like, I see so much potential in Starfield, but I don't really get any delivery from it personally.
That's interesting.
The phrase "it's something to do" is such damning with faint praise.
Yeah, like, that is horrifying. Like, you say, oh, it's like a Far Cry, but it's like, you know, I have enjoyed Far Cries in the past, and I'll still check them out. And that I do get the kind of that exhaustion, but at least for this, I think just the sci-fi premise is really, really working for me. Like, just in the early hours, at least, like, I am already filled with a sense of wonder about space. And I feel like, hey, you know what? By and large, mission accomplished there. Like, they know their space porn pretty darn well. You know what? When you're like going through a warp drive, the grav drive warp and all that stuff, and they like bring out the little console in the ships, and you see them pressing the buttons, and that funky old 70s UI pops up as you're going through the grav warp. Like, that is just so satisfying. And my favorite little thing is just like the sounds of the ships. It's such a specific thing in sci-fi, but like hearing just kind of the creaking and moaning of a big ship in space, I am such a sucker for. Like, what really turned me around on that was there's that movie, which is, you know, not a 10 out of 10 film, but First Man, the movie about Armstrong that came out a couple years ago, that also nailed just like these sounds of these big steel ships. Like, when in space is just so overbearing and cool for putting you in a certain mood. Jeff, I know you're a sci-fi dork too. I'm curious how high that pitch went for you, man.
Yeah, it is. I am very much enjoying it, but I refuse to refute anything that Janet says. And it is like my biggest caveat, I guess, talking about this is it's a through and through Bethesda game. And it's like they have such a specific formula to their games. And if it doesn't click with you, or if you fall out of it, like it's been a weird journey.
If you fall out of it.
Okay, I didn't mean that, but yes, I see retroactively. I apologize retroactively for that. Thank you. But it's been a weird journey for me because I feel like as I've been playing it, I've been enjoying it so much, but I've also been wondering, like, how is this fundamentally different from my experience with Borderlands, which I have fallen out of so much, and just like, and yet a lot of the formula is the same. Like, I'm walking around these facilities and I am like hoarding every item and, you know, loot that I can find. And for some reason, that's still very satisfying for me in Bethesda's formula. But I can totally understand if people do find it boring or do find it, you know, something to do.
But there's so much more than just a Borderlands game. But sorry, go ahead, Jenna.
So I'm a diehard Fallout fan, ride or die. Love it. I'm still playing Fallout 76. Bless my heart. And one of the things I struggle with Starfield is that, like, because like I do love that thing in Bethesda games where it is just like you're walking around, you're looting, your pockets are full of just every piece of garbage you can find, and you're gonna all melt it down to make yourself a cool hat later or whatever. Like the feedback loop that Bethesda has for their games, I find very satisfying. But I've been struggling a little bit with Starfield because I think aesthetically it does so little for me, whereas the Fallout games are like, I think a very fun post-apocalyptic setting. They're a little bit snarky. They're a little bit self-aware. There's a lot of character in them, whereas I feel like Starfield I've been struggling with because it's like, Sarah, I don't care about you. I'm sorry. Like, I don't care about these people. There's so little, I don't know, vibrancy in the world. Like I think it probably I'm fascinated to see the extent to which it appeals to y'all as sci-fi fans, but like it just feels very empty and dry.
Have you met the character who has a daughter with him?
No, not yet.
I would highly suggest hanging out with that guy and following him around if you like Fallout.
Okay.
Interesting.
There's there's a Fallout planet, basically.
All right, I'm just gonna go there. I'll set my outpost up there.
Really, truly.
Yeah, I wonder if part of that problem, Jenna, is just like because they're biting off so much here with so many different planets and so many different environments. So it's tough to have like as concrete of a vibe as the Fallout series in particular, right? Is that part of the connection gap for you?
That certainly might be part of it. It's so hard to pinpoint it because again, I haven't seen the fullness of the game.
Sure,
but like. It does feel like every single outpost could be an outpost on any world. So it does feel like there's a lot of worlds, but like in what way are they differentiated? In what way is there like a different culture to them? Like the Fallout games had the benefit of being able to rip off, American culture from the 50s in order to give it some flavor and give it some vibe. And just Starfield doesn't have anything there to replace that.
Well, I'm sure, again, early impressions, I'm sure with this big of a game, once you can soak in the cultures of different cities, maybe it'll pop a little bit more. But like the first big city you go to, was it New Amsterdam? Is that the name of it? It's like, okay, I kind of had some...
New Atlantis?
New Atlantis, I'm sorry, thank you. Much better than Amsterdam. But yeah, it had a little bit of like landing on the Citadel vibes from Mass Effect. And part of it, I'm sure, was like the music, but I was very excited to start running around that environment and start to try and soak in like what is happening with this world. And at least so far where I'm at, like they've planted enough little seeds that don't seem obnoxious, but just like weird sci-fi ideas. Like I think somebody in the Constellation building at some point's like, oh, it's been a lot quieter here since Vladimir went to go live on the Eye full time. Like, I'm looking forward to learning what living on the Eye means. That sounds like a cool sci-fi idea no matter what. So at least I feel like
there's also an early seed planted, like truly not a spoiler because I don't know where it's at, but like the fate of Earth is like in question, which is like really interesting. And that's been like the most hooky thing for me. I'm like, what's going on there?
Yeah, I want to leave that ambiguous for what's going on Earth exactly, because I think it's a fun thing to go discover. But what were you going to say, Devin?
Another one of the seeds from an early mission is they're talking about like the Xeno Wars and this idea that like the Red Devils is this mercenary group that would take over the minds of alien creatures and use those to fight. And you eventually run into a guy who used to be it, and he's like, yeah, boy, I would certainly love if the Red Devils came back, but I don't see that happening. And it's like, I'll keep that in mind. It has. I will say, like, I think the intro and the beginning of the game is not great. I'm right there with you on Sarah. Just like the most I get from her is she constantly shames me for all the stuff that I'm picking up.
Why is everyone such a goody in this game? I'll take a napkin. They're like, that's not ours. Shut up.
I got arrested for stealing a bunch of sliders at a club on Neon. So I was like, those are some good looking burgers. And this cop just showed up out of nowhere. It was like, put those burgers back.
I spent so much time on Neon.
The cyberpunk planet. I like that.
I do think I've been so looking forward to this era that by the time you guys are listening to this are now in of embargo being up, because I do think the spread on this game is going to be massive. Like I think it could swing really low, it could swing really high, it could be totally in the middle, like with some people being really cold on it and some people being really hot on it, and then it's going to be like a discourse hellscape. And I'm not looking forward to the hellscape part of it with like the console wariness of the internet, but even from critical discourse and podcasts, I think people are going to have really different feelings on this game. It seems like it's going to be really polarizing, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And you mentioned one thing I wanted to talk about, which is the music.
Oh, so good.
Because I think it's so good. It's like, that's the only thing where I'm like, when I'm playing Fallout game, all I'm doing is listening to the soundtrack, because I just like 40s, 50s jazz standard stuff. But like the orchestral music in this game is insanely good. It's so lush and triumphant and like captures the vibe so well.
Yeah, and I do think, even though Sarah Morgan isn't my favorite character ever, I do think like all the performances I've heard so far have been really good. It's like a combo of like the music and the voice where it's like, all right. And honestly, I'm playing on Xbox Series X, and I'm like, maybe I was bracing for impact, but I do think it looks better than I was expecting, at least. I definitely was going into this being like, all right, Bethesda engine, a little long in the tooth. I get it. So that's like, okay, you know what? Faces aren't bad. Like the world looks great. I'm into it. And especially when you're in the ship flying around, like that just looks so good. But to go back to the Sarah Morgan thing, the most compelling thing about her for me so far is like you're brought into this constellation group and she's running through the rules. And I thought it was really funny. They have a whole scene where you can talk to her and she's like, look, you're part of this group, but like, we want to give you your freedom. Whatever you got to do out there in space, we're kind of a no judgment type of group because everyone kind of plays by their own rules. And we understand that. So like, they're trying so hard to give the player the ability to be like, you're part of a group, but you're not representing the group necessarily. Go have fun. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So I went and landed on Titan, the moon, and then found like another ship out there and just took this cool looking ship, which is like the best part of the game for me so far, is just finding a ship, getting in it. And it's like, this is just mine now. I can just fly with this because I murdered everybody. This is awesome. So I got in the ship and there was like another ship flying by. And I'm like, well, I got to test out this new ship. So I just unloaded everything on this random ship. And Sarah Morgan lost her mind. She was so outraged. And so then later on when we landed, she's like, I don't even want to talk to you. She's like, you are a disgrace to Constellation. What have you done? You can't act like this. And then the main mission is bringing me to Mars. And then I don't know what it's like for everybody else, but like I landed on Mars and they're like, right to prison, buddy. What you've been doing is out of line, no way out. And now you need to join this group or you won't be able to escape the prison. I'm like, I'm not joining your group, screw you. And so that has already been a fun divergence of just like, well, I made one decision to unload on this ship and now I need to ride with it. And now it seems like one of the main NPCs hates my guts for it, but I don't care. I'm sticking with it,
Someone told me getting arrested is the most interesting thing that you can do. They're like, get arrested by the United Colonies.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. And then I didn't because I'm like, I don't want to. Because also too, like, I don't want to play that way necessarily. And I think one of my frustrations, and granted, like, people could argue this is me being backseat developer or projecting my own desires onto what the game is, but booting it up and getting to choose these different backgrounds, I was so excited about the backgrounds and the skills and all that. And I kind of crafted my character to be like I got my house as one of my like trait things. I got my, I had like the chef characteristic, like my background was I used to be a chef and I took like the gastronomy or whatever characteristic, like the food one. Yeah. And I was like, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be a space chef pirate. Like, I can't wait. I'm going to lean into it. This is going to be my thing. I'm going to cook. And I tried really hard to lean into that. And I felt like and granted, that's a very specific vision and I get that. But I feel like there wasn't really a lot to facilitate leaning into those kind of aspects. Like I also took empath and sometimes you get a convo option that's like the empath one. And I'm like, sounds hard. And they're like, you're so nice, and that's cool. But like with the like food, for instance, and again, this is getting into the weeds a bit, like it takes so long to skill tree level up where food can even do anything health wise that I'm like, I really was investing in some of these things just to like, well, let me see what I can do with it. And I felt like the answer was not much. And I constantly kind of felt that with some of the additional systems that I had offering to me. Like I tried really hard to get into the outpost stuff and like I could not for the life of me figure out how to like use the cargo transport to like go directly to my ship because my ship wouldn't land by the outpost. And it's like, what it's like stuff like that where I'm like, and then also what exactly is the purpose other than that one side quest that wants 3,000 pounds of copper? Like, do I really need to even be crafting anything? And the answer is kind of no. And I feel like I constantly was hitting these metaphorical walls with, there's so many things you can do. And yet it's all just like nothing.
I noticed, I have a couple of things to say. I'm trying to prioritize. I chose the sculptor route because I was like, a space sculptor.
That sounds so cool, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I was so delighted by it. I was so tempted by the chef route, but I was like, sculptor is something I have never seen in a game, sci-fi, Bethesda, whatever, any game. I've never had the option to be like a sculptor. That is such an interesting concept and flavor to bring to us. But it has absolutely, like, it was just like, oh, you get these 3 skills to start off with. Yeah. That's really all it means. And that's like, it's one of those things where it's like, maybe that is me putting my expectations right on what this game is. But if the game says you get to choose this background of a sculptor, I expect that to kind of mean something. And that was frustrating. There's also the outpost building, which is one of those things where it's like, as soon as it started, I was like, oh, this is like building a camp in Fallout. That's really fun. I love building a camp in Fallout. You have so many absolutely bizarre options that you can do to build it and make it really flavorful. And in Fallout 76, I love wandering around and finding other players' camps and being like, wow, look at this bizarre stuff that you've done. But boy, is the base building in this game so functional. and so boring. Like the aesthetic options are so minor, and it's like you get a lot of you get like, oh, you can mine the moon for iron. Isn't that fun? And I'm like, nah, it's not. It's
and then like,
fun.
what do I need the iron for? And I know you can do things with the iron, but it's also not really clear what I would be doing with it. Like typically when you have crafting in games, there's like a really, I feel like, clear visions that you can execute on. And while there are things you can make, like if you go into the like your spaceship and you go into like the bench, like there's so many workbenches and things to tinker with, but then it's like, where is this leading me? And I know part of it is the onus of the player to like engage with what you want to engage with, but there also needs to be like an aspect of tutorialization and facilitation of allowing me to engage. Like I want to engage with your systems, and I feel like you don't really make it easy for me to do it. Even like having a house, like I got the house thing out the gate, paid off the mortgage, was psyched, like hell yeah. And and not gonna lie, my house looks good. Okay, I'm like decorating that thing. I spent a lot of time working on my office and just building what you see on camera, but in I was gonna say Fallout, in Starfield. But cool. Even stuff like that like ends up like you could have done so much more with it. Like I can't even like invite people over to my house. Like there's just so many spots that are just so frustrating, combined with like the most egregious menu system I've seen in years. And I know RPGs, you're going to be in the menus, but oh my God, am I like so constantly turned around.
It is funny. Like you look at the UI is very distinct, and it's like this game is going to be so big. This UI will eventually become iconic and nostalgic for legions of gamers. But right now, jumping into it, it's like I appreciate it for like the kind of clunky 70s look, but there definitely are times where it's like, where's just the map? Can I get a functional map of this town? Where is it?
There's no way to, you have to memorize the entire game layout. There's no way to know even where a store is. I spent like minutes and hours looking for, can I buy health packs somewhere? And it's like, where do I know there's medicine?
Right.
I think the basement of Neon, but I'm not sure. And it's going to take me a while to get there. And that happens all the time. Ammo system, it's all specifically written out. Can I just do a buy all ammo? There's like so many spots where there's not quality of life aspects, specifically on console. I have heard from PC players that it's a little bit, since you have like a mouse, like it's not as, some of those things are a little bit less painful, but it's a lot of menus and fast traveling and clicking and going back out. And then I go in my inventory and it's pat your head and rub your stomach a lot of times with like the management of where you're going or how to put anything away.
I always hit like the select equivalent, on the Xbox controller to try and go to the map. And it's like, oh no, this is just to change the view. And it's cool that there's like 2 different layers of third person now. And I do like flying around in third person in space and stuff. Same. But it is like, can I just remap that to put the map on that? It's like, no, you can remap a lot of the buttons. You can't remap that. That is always going to be changed perspective, which was surprising.
My kingdom
is there a map?
My kingdom for a button to escape the inventory immediately. Like every time I hit the map, I hit escape to leave the UI interface, and it's like, oh, you wanted to go back a level. Oh, you want to see the planet? Oh, you want to see? Yes. And I'm like, no, I want to leave.
Well, I think you can hold down the back button.
I know I can, but you know what? That's not a thing in any other game.
Yeah, but it's also one of those things that they just don't tell you. Like it both, I respect the lack of tutorialization, because like I would also be complaining in another universe if it was like, oh, there's too many tutorials. I won't let me fly. But it's like, then the alternate, which is like, I don't even know what the answer is, but there's not a lot of tutorialization. Like talking with folks at Game Informer, like we're all talking about the game and stuff. And someone was like, I have just been going into my menu and equipping weapons individually every time I need to change weapons.
No.
I didn't realize like that.
The favorite system?
The favorite?
Yeah, like it's because it's not immediately clear.
Swap? Why can't I aim and then swap out my weapons?
Yes.
It is.
Why when I run out of ammo, do you not automatically switch to a gun? Like, I feel like, and I already knew like when I was playing this, I'm like, oh no, I'm going to have to be like the person that like, hey, Starfield. Like, I hate to have to be that person on like shows because it's annoying. Like, I don't like having to be that person every time. But everywhere you turn, while there is a lot of like cool things attempted, I feel like everywhere I turn, there's something to complain about, because there's so much stuff that's just not the way you would expect or hope for it to be.
Weirdly enough, to exacerbate all of these issues is that a lot of the mechanics and things that you can do in this game are the same as things you can do in Fallout 76, but done in a different way with different key maps and different key bindings. So it's like I will go to like activate a new outpost, but it's a different set of keys than in Fallout 76, and that is consistent throughout the whole game, and it's just so frustrating because it's like, Bethesda, I am the people that you want to impress with this. Like, I am the diehard Bethesda fan that you should be catering to a certain extent, and so the fact that it's just like, nope, learn a new key set for everything is like.
I have a question. The Digipick lockpicking. I don't understand that. And what am I missing?
I love it.
There's like the multiple layers. Yeah. What should I be doing here?
You just have all your lockpicks. So I like the system fine. I don't think it's as fun as like I think things peaked with that with like the BioShock goo. Like that's all I want. I just want everything to be the BioShock goo. Okay. And if you're not, I'm never gonna like love you as much. But it's okay. Like it's again something that you can do. You just you get all these different picks, and you just like pick two to like slot in. So there's different holes like on when you're looking at it, like playing it. And then you just pick like, okay, I can use these two, like I'll just name them with letters. If I use A and D, that can fill like all the holes on layer 1, and then you slot them in. And then the second layer, but if there's a new set of holes, and then you just pick the locks that you have. It
feels like it wasn't working. I don't know if it was just like different lock picks or what, but it's like there was a different number of holes versus a number of things. But this is the most boring thing to talk about.
You might have just messed it up. Like I've never failed. This sounds so cocky. I never failed.
There's overlap.
Yeah.
There's overlap to them, so you have to. I usually will plan them all out before I start locking them in, because invariably if I'm like, oh yeah, I got it, like I'll level 2 will be fine, and then I'll realize that I don't have the right.
Yeah, I plan the layer out before I insert, but I only plan like one layer at a time. Like I don't think you have to plan further than one layer at a time.
You probably do.
But I ran out of digipicks. What did I like?
Really?
Yeah, like
Impossible.
on Neon, and then it was just like, well, you can't complete this mission because you can't lock back into this lock.
Oh, that's weird.
Guess I'll leave then.
A lot of times they put a pick next to the lock as well, I think, to try to offset that. Yeah. I never ran out because I got them a lot. I also like leveled up like some of my looting stuff. Like you get more stuff when you loot. And then one time I was at the store, like once I bought that house, which I grinded for like 120K to like pay off that house. Like I was working. I was working in space to pay this off, which was totally worth it. I put some stuffed animals in there, and it's very cute looking. But one time I went to the store and I also just bought a bunch. So I was like, oh, you have digipicks? I'm going to buy like, literally all of them. So I had ended the game with like 20 or 30 left.
Perfect. You talk about buying that house, and it's kind of disappointing to even, tweak the house and stuff like that. But in my mind, it's like, well, who cares about a house? The whole point is you live on your ship, right? And like you can customize that thing, and that's where you can like invite the crew and actually have them walking around there. And that feels like that's your house in this game, right?
I found this. Have you customized your ship?
I haven't customized it yet. I mean, once I stole the perfect ship, I feel like I can just leave it exactly as
has
it
anyone
is.
customized their ship here?
Just on the outside.
I've done some, and it's another one of those systems that's very confusing and took a while to figure out how to even get things to connect.
But did you get that nerd thrill by the end of it?
Yeah, I'm enjoying that. I'm enjoying a lot of these things while still acknowledging that yes, they're rough, or I can totally see if they're not clicking with you. But it is like my sci-fi nerdy, I like that retro sci-fi alien vibe, and I do certainly have questions about a lot of the systems, a lot of the upgrading and mods and all of that stuff, and I haven't interacted with it too much. I've mostly just been like running around doing side missions for people, and I've been surprised how engaging that has been for me. And I think again, a big part of it is just the aesthetic of it, and it's like because. At one point, someone sent me on a mission. They were like, "Hey, like I was bringing in this cargo. The ship landed outside the city. Like, can you go check it and like make sure the crew's okay or whatever?" And I went there. All the crew was dead, and there were just heat leeches, which is like an alien type, that were in all the boxes. And I basically had to just go around and kill them. And as I was doing it, I was like, oh my God, this is a rats in the cellar mission. Like I'm killing 10 rats in the cellar. But it's still working for me on a level that I can't even justify, because it's just like I like space. I like going around and being a hoarding freak in these games, and like if I feel sorry. This feels like another one of those games like Elden Ring, Janet, where it's like if you're not on board with it, you're going to have to listen to people who are on board gush about it and kind of overlook, all of these annoying things that aren't clicking for you.
Unlike Elden Ring, I think I will very easily find a very large group of people
I
that
am
will
very
also
curious.
not like this game.
For sure.
I mean, it feels like it functions best as like the way Jeffem is playing it, which is like not quite how I'm playing it either, which is like you just exist in a fully realized sort of world of sci-fi, right? It's less about like the video game-ness of like, I'm going to see the end credits. I'm going to get all, it's just like we built a world and you can kind of hang out in it. And that's where it seems like it's the most successful. Like I'm flying around and like this old woman is just like, hey, if you want to come over and have some dinner, you can. And I just like, I dock her ship and it's just this old lady who like made a bunch of cookies and talks about her kids like missing her. And I'm like, okay, this was like, I didn't have to do this. This was totally optional. I didn't gain anything from this other than some extra food in my inventory because she cooked too much. And it's like, that's where I feel like the game is successful.
That
right?
was one of my high points, but also the fact that we both had that experience.
Yeah,
also,
I think it's one you see pretty early on. A lot of people see. Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like that's not. I don't need to have like my experience be the only like whatever. Like I know some people care about that a little bit more, but yeah, that was like a cool moment. But that was one of the moments I had in my 44 hours of gameplay.
Yeah.
I am curious, Jeff, since you just went back to No Man's Sky. Okay, there's a couple of big comparisons for this game. Let's just get it out of the way.
Oh yeah.
No Man's Sky, Jeff. You have 100%. Just been going back and playing that. I mean,
yes.
Direct comparison, how's it stack up?
Okay, so and I just almost brought it up because it is one of those things where it's like that game has a lot of systems also that there's no reason to interact with them if you don't want to. Like I'm a huge No Man's Sky fan, and I spend a lot of time going to planets, walking around, mining stuff that I don't really need to be mining, taking pictures of stuff that there's like not a good gameplay, like not a rewarding loop for, but it's because I'm in the vibe and I'm enjoying just being in that world. And so I think some of the stuff in Starfield kind of falls into that category where it's like, if you don't want to do it, I totally get it. It's satisfying to me because I want to be doing those things in the first place. The other thing about No Man's Sky that I think it's unfortunate that No Man's Sky exists because Bethesda has to fudge some things in Starfield, and it's stuff that No Man's Sky didn't have to fudge. Like, taking off from a planet is a cutscene in Starfield, and there's just no way of getting around that. There has been a lot of leaks and talking about how like you actually can't just land and walk. Like if you walk for a half an hour in a direction, you're going to hit a boundary. And I think at that point you have to like move your ship basically to the next, invisible, like all those kind of things. I haven't hit any boundaries. I don't really care about those kind of things, but it is unfortunate that like we already have kind of the fantasy perfect test case of taking off, streamlined, like once you warp to a place, I'm still a little fuzzy in Starfield where like you warp to a planet or whatever, and then it's like you're not going to be like, I want to go check out what's over there. I'm going to fly in that direction, and it's just like it just feels like you're spinning your wheels in a way that it doesn't in No Man's Sky. Yeah, and like I feel bad a little bit complaining about these things because in No Man's Sky, that's all there is, and that's all there was. Like you don't have tons of very deep RPG systems and colonies and all these NPCs and all of that stuff built on top of that. So of course they can put a lot more effort into like making sure you can take off and land, seamlessly and those kind of things. But it's like that is ultimately a ding against the game. But I guess I can play No Man's Sky if I really want seamless space transitions.
That is
I can overlook it being a cutscene, especially because at some point it's like I don't need to see it take off. Just fast travel me back to the colony that I'm going to anyway.
It definitely was the thing that I was most like surprised by that I came to terms with pretty quickly, where I was like, oh, this is not seamless. And not even because of the No Man's Sky comparison, but because of the Bethesda comparison. This isn't a game where you can just walk around to every point of interest. Like you are constantly fast traveling. And it was like, I was surprised by that. And it was one of those things where I was reflecting on it. I was like, why was I surprised by that? It's not like they ever promised that it was going to be like a takeoff from a planet and fly to another planet, like without a cutscene game. Did they ever say that? I don't know why I assumed that's how it was going to be, but it really is just like hundreds, maybe even thousands of like zones that they've created that you kind of bounce between with a little quick cutscene in between. And the loading's good. Like I have not been annoyed by the loading or anything, but you do see those like little cutscenes a lot.
It is strange, just to like go to a planet, go to a moon, and just choose a location anywhere on there, and it's like, oh, this is wild. All right, let me teleport in, then you realize, like you said, it's all just kind of like this zone that they've arranged for you, where it's like you're gonna walk a little bit and find some point of interest, no matter where you've landed. At least as I've found so far, where it's like, okay, here's some random base on this moon, here's this over here, and so it does. You kind of have to squint a little bit to fulfill the full sci-fi fantasy. But you got No Man's Sky for that. Play these two games back to back. You won't need nothing else. The ship combat, I think is cool. Like it's a simple sci-fi fantasy again, but like, changing what you're prioritizing in the ship. Like, okay, now I'm going for all power to lasers, all power to shields. Like that simple UI element, I think works well. It's like, oh, it's kind of fun. You got to bring the shield down before you can use ballistic bullets on them to really destroy the ship. Like, that's cool.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, the smuggling and contraband stuff is like just a whole nother, like a whole nother system that doesn't need to exist. But clearly at some point, Todd Howard was like, we got to have Han Solo. You got to be able to smuggle cargo. And so let's build this out more than is reasonable for this kind of game. But like, that's what Bethesda games are. Like, they go really deep on a lot of different things. And it's not always the most polished experience. And hopefully the UI and systems get some love over the coming months.
It's still in early access. No. Which brings me to my next thing. I mean, No Man's Sky, the obvious comparison. And then Jenna, just because you're still in love with it, like, is it tough to go from Baldur's Gate 3 to this? Are you seeing a lot of strengths of Baldur's Gate not carry over to this and all that fun jazz?
Did you say Jenna or Janet?
Oh, I believe I said Jenna.
Okay, I wasn't certain.
The only way I knew is because I haven't played Baldur's Gate. Because I heard my name too.
Oh no!
Okay.
And then he went in a different direction, and I was like, never mind.
Weirdly enough, this is the thing that I was gonna say. I just remembered is that like the things that I love so much about the Fallout game is that you pick a direction and you start walking and you're going to come across some people or a weird house or a city that's been destroyed, or there will be something of interest. If you just walk long enough, you will be rewarded for that exploration. And that feeling is not very present for me in Starfield, partially because you just have to like quick travel everywhere. And there are whole quests that I did, which is quick travel here, talk to this person, quick travel back, talk to that person. Yeah. You did it. You quested. Yeah. Whereas Baldur's Gate is giving me that Fallout vibe where it is just like, you pick a direction to walk in, you're going to find another weird quest of weird people and weird trouble. And like I was playing last night and I wandered to this area during Act 1 where you meet this old lady who I'm obsessed with now named Auntie Ethel. And Auntie Ethel is like, oh, I'm just an old woman. Don't let these boys beat me up. No. And if you're like, I don't know if that's true. She's like, oh, well, screw you. How dare you not believe me? I'm an adorable old lady. And then you can go and follow that quest, and it's just so fun. So it Baldur's Gate definitely giving me the Fallout vibes that Starfield is not.
Yeah, what a weird idea, but sure, I can see it.
Yeah, like with the intrigue, and like I don't mean this to like push back necessarily, but I'm curious, like Ben, like what you feel like you go out and find, because like when I did one of the side quests that's like completely survey a planet, and this is when I was first getting into the game and learning like what surveying really meant. So I didn't really do it that effectively. Like now that I know how to do it, it's like you just kind of can land on part of it and then scan a bunch of stuff and then fly away and then land again. Like that's the most efficient way to do it. But I didn't realize that at the time. So I'm like, I'm just going to walk around. I'm going to scan my stuff and I'm going to, just kind of like basically roam the planet, which I did so comfortably. And I didn't personally hit any walls. But the things I found were like, there's some environment stuff, maybe a couple animals. There's like random gravitational anomalies that are just kind of like big statues or structures. And like there are sometimes people's little like outposts or areas, but they're not really like I interacted with one, like they were under attack and I'm like, I'm going to go and I'm going to fight with them. And they like didn't really like say anything to me about it or do anything. Like, what have you found out there? Because I've gone on a planet and explored and I didn't really see a lot to do there or to interact with there.
Yeah, for sure. It could definitely build that way. I'm still so early in it, but genuinely my fun has been, all right, get in the ship, go anywhere. It's like, oh, I can go to Earth. I can go to our solar system. I thought they'd be saving that for the tease at the end. It's like, what's happening in our solar system?
Yeah, so, real quick, that was an early thing that I was like, another thing that I was like, oh, this takes place in our solar system. I had no idea. I thought this was like a total fantasy.
Go to the moon and make a moon base.
We can, and so genuinely, my thrills, Janet, have been like going to our solar system. Then I went to our moon and saw that there was a base over there, and I was like, well.
Someone did.
Yep, that's right. And I was like, okay, I don't want to use my ammo, but I do have this weird mining axe. So I'm just going to go into this base and just butcher everybody with this axe and then leave. And then
and you're wondering why the cops are like arresting you? Like the second
Kyle,
you go to
why doesn't Sarah like you?
I'm only a butcher on moons is my thing. I abide all the rules on every other
different
planet.
zip code.
Right?
Cool.
Yeah.
What a folklore you've created for yourself.
Right. And so then I went to, Titan to check out that moon. I just wanted to see what that was like. I was like, well, I got to get that axe. I got to be the moon butcher here. And so let me just slaughter everybody in this base, steal other stuff, and then leave because the moon butcher is struck again. So that is my level of thrill, Janet. It's much more than engaging with the systems and watching meters go up for scanning plants or whatever they want me to be doing. But I'm still having that thrill of freedom at this phase of the game. Yes, I mean, I honestly, controversial, hot take. I mean, I'm enjoying this way more than I've ever enjoyed a Bethesda RPG, just in like the 5 hours that I've played, but I've never really, a Bethesda RPG has never gotten its hooks in me before. And I feel like this one is like, oh, I see an open runway ahead of me for this thing. I'm enjoying it more than I expected so far.
The 210s are going to be a bloodbath this year.
They could be.
Someone was talking about that. I saw the clip out from the Baldur's Gate 3 Act 1 spoiler cast.
Right.
And like, I think it's going to be hell on earth.
Right.
Like, hell's empty because everyone's going to be at the 210s.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It won't be hell because everyone's going to play Hi-Fi Rush again before the debates, and then it'll be a slam dunk, easy pick.
I've been eyeing it on my dash for a while. My hot take that no one's going to believe that I think is true, and I don't even know if I want to commit to it because it's a little too spicy. And like, do I really think that's a little extreme? The ship customization is clearer in Kingdom Hearts than it is in Starfield. And that ship customization is weirdly convoluted and kind of bad. Are we talking about
Kingdom Hearts 1? Or are we talking about
in one? I spent time
Interesting.
customizing.
Okay.
And again, I tried to engage with that system, and it's not well made to engage with, but I was able to figure that out much more easily. And it built and did that much better and had more fun with it than I did in Starfield.
What, can you just put slap a cube on the side and then Goofy says good job? Isn't that?
It's really hard to actually slap the cube on the side, which is why it's badly made. But even for this, like, I just can't it. I also have more fun dogfighting in Kingdom Hearts than I do.
Well, I mean, seriously, Ultra Hand just wiped
I hate
the
to
floor.
say it. I was like, Kingdom Hearts did this better. What?
But Ultra Hand just wipes the floor with everything because it's just like literally like, let me stick things together and it's a ship that I can get in and like.
Yeah, but you would think you can just buy the part. It's not like you have to weld it onto there. You can just buy pieces and add it. But again, I have not seen a lot of people do. I'm sure there will be people that, especially for the review, that have to engage with everything, are going to deck their ship out in interesting ways.
It is a late game
I didn't do
thing,
anything with it.
like ship
all.
customization.
Really?
I think even in their sort of reviewer guide, Bethesda said something like this. We actually kind of designed this to be something you engage with later in the game.
Yeah.
I did it at the end because I literally had to because my ship could not it cannot get there. Like I tried to, because you can like grab jump closer and closer if you don't have the fuel to get there. But like it was literally an impossibility, and I barely understood what I needed to even add to the ship. They're like, you can add HE3 to it, and I'm like, what does that mean? And I just started buying things. And I'm like, I hope this will get me to the last mission because I'm trying to get out.
That's why you gotta steal a ship that has two giant HE3 tanks already.
Yeah, just identify what those tanks look like. Spot one of those out in space. Kill everybody on it.
That's it.
I did end up buying
Butcher them on the moon
for a similar reason, where I was like, I'm just gonna buy this because they're like, you need like I think more I don't know, fuel or something, and I'm like, this one has it, I'll buy that one. I'll take the second one.
I'm excited about the ship customization, not for me, because I will not be using it, but I am excited to see what weird ships other people make.
Yeah.
This is very much the Tears of the Kingdom vibe, where it's like, I am not going to make a mech in this game or anything like that, but I'm excited to see all of the weird ships that people can make who are invested in that kind of system.
I thought it'd be easier to, I think, do that stuff. Like when they showed off, like, oh, I made a platypus ship. I'm like, it's going to be awesome. And then I'm like, oh, I don't know what I am reading, and I speak English, and I do not understand what this is.
Interesting.
Not a great interface on that.
Starfield, everybody. Whoo! I'm with you, Janet. I am excited to see what the rest of the world thinks about this. It's definitely going to be one of the biggest talkers of the year.
I'm on the plane when the embargo lifts, I think. I swear to God, I might pay for the Wi-Fi. Actually, you're going to pay because I'm expensing everything. I might have you pay for the Wi-Fi.
Just for your thrills.
Because I'm so thirsty for the content on this. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I was playing it, and I felt like I was gaslighting myself. I'm like, is this like supposed to... What's everyone else feeling here? Because it was so like, it's so like odd because there are, I think, a lot of things that are cool about it. I don't think it's a very cut and dry game either way you slice it.
I feel the same way. I'm really excited about reviews for this game.
Yeah, I know Leo Vader has really been enjoying it, and I think he'll be on for next week. So we will continue to unpack Starfield.
Ooh, I don't know.
See. Yeah,
that's a little scary.
That's right. Leo Vader's going to give the kiss of death to Starfield, ladies and gentlemen. It's going down in flames. All right, yeah, we'll talk about it more in the near future, I'm sure. But curious to see what everyone else thinks about that one. So jump in. Sea of Stars, Kyle. Bum, 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 bum.
The other star game this week.
Yeah.
The big star game. Which
people are obsessed with, apparently. It has like a 95.
Because they all have good taste and are smart.
Wait, the Metacritic's a 95?
The
I think
open
it's
critic was
like 89 or something.
Jesus.
Reviews are very good, though.
Yeah, if you don't remember, Sea of Stars is the throwback JRPG style game, 16-bit inspired, little dash of Chrono Trigger thrown in there. We've talked about before.
More than a dash, my friend.
Okay, a full X Strike of Chrono Trigger. Hang on, I'm looking at the trailer now.
You can literally get X Strike.
Are you serious?
Yes, yeah, you can.
Also, I just saw a clip in the B-roll, and it's just them fighting Lavos. You just fight like a Lavos worm thing?
I mean, yeah, kind of.
Okay.
I mean, that's going a little too far. But there's all kinds of Chrono Trigger Easter eggs, even the sort of pace of the story and stuff like that.
Well, also the fact that it has Mitsuda, who's the composer for Chrono Trigger, doing some music for the game. Is it like a main theme thing, or what's the?
No, I honestly don't know. And it's funny because I even spoke to them about it for the cover story stuff. It's like he probably did like 20% of the music or something like that.
Sweet.
It was more than just like we got him for one track. You know?
Yeah. Could we pay him to make like a new podcast intro? It's always amazing with like these legendary composers, and I guess we've benefited from this as well for our jingles at MinnMax, but it's amazing that it's like they're just for hire. It's such a weird idea. Like you can just hire Mitsuda to make music for. He's just a guy that you can pay money for goods and services. That's amazing. But Sea of Stars, Kyle, you like it?
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's weird because it's like fundamentally in some ways like the opposite of Starfield to like come out on the same week because it is a linear RPG where you're kind of working within these constraints, but ultimately it's just like a really beautiful, great story. I like the story, I like the characters, and I like the combat a lot too. It's got timed button pressing, and it's like it's very much has that Chrono Trigger thing where it's like there's no random battles and you walk up into this one section and all these enemies, jump out from the trees and attack you, and it's just wonderful. It's great. Soundtrack's great. I really can't praise it enough.
As a man who loves Golden Sun more than his own family, is it like this is everything you want from an RPG? When you play an RPG, you want an experience like Sea of Stars? It's kind of like the model in your mind?
Yeah, truly, like, because that, like, I'm not even like the biggest RPG person in general.
Yeah.
But like, if I had to hone in on one thing, it would be that era, right? Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, Earthbound, Super Mario RPG. Like, those are the RPGs that I really like, and Golden Sun kind of falls in that genre as well. So like, it definitely appeals to me as someone who likes those kind of games. But it is also a game that like I would point to be like, this game will show you why these kinds of games are beloved. Like, I think if you've never really played a game like this, I think this one will be appealing to you. I think it's like a good entry point for that sort of style of game.
I know this is maybe strange, but I've had this thing forever where I feel like kind of the Western homages to JRPGs, I'm just so sensitive to the writing in them. Every time I play one, I always think like, why am I not just going back and playing some old 16-bit RPG that I've never played? And I is the writing going to make me cringe at any moment. I'll take some JRPG cringe for the writing, but for some reason when I see Western developers kind of going for a JRPG style, it makes me cringe 5 times as much.
No, I never really found myself cringing over anything. I mean, there were like tearful moments for me over the course of the story and stuff like that. Like things happen. I mean, it's not like when I would point to, you know, like especially in a year when there's like Baldur's Gate, when everyone is like, this is like maybe truly the apex of like video game writing and choice driven writing. Yeah. Like I wouldn't put it up there with that, but like I was very happy with the writing and the sort of content of the story and the characterizations and things like that. I never found myself cringing, and all the character designs are like cool. So like you'll be meeting like new boss characters late in the game who have interesting personalities and like that I totally didn't expect. It can be a very surprising game at times, for sure. Yeah,
I gotta say, watching the trailer, just like a quick shot of a boat on a world map, and that's one of those things like, all right, you got me. I'm in. I'm excited to jump into this thing. So there is like a full old style world map that you're exploring, and you get a boat for it eventually. That's
you got a boat. Yeah, it doesn't take too long. Yeah, I mean, I know the plan I think is to talk about it more with more folks when we get a chance to play with it next week. I do genuinely want to hear your thoughts, Ben. I hope you get a chance to try it out, because like especially as a big Chrono Trigger fan, like I spoke with them for Game Informer's cover story. Like they're not, they're not beating around the bush. They're like, oh yeah, no, Chrono Trigger is the North Star for this game, and we love Chrono Trigger, and we wanted to make something that reminded us of Chrono Trigger. And I think they were quite successful.
What's this you were tweeting about? Flimsy hammers?
There is this thing in the game. I have all but 2 achievements. I did all the side quests. There is I was very completionist about it. I got all the rainbow conch shells, which I would actually recommend doing if you're going to play the game. It's worthwhile to do that.
Like doing it before you finish the game?
No, you finish the game, and then I would say you can it kind of does that thing where it well, I won't get into that because maybe that's
okay. I just want to make sure that if I'm playing, I don't know the context of these shells.
Yeah, go beat the game. Pick up the rainbow conch shells as you're playing. You'll see them here and there. Beat the game, and then there are things you can unlock to help you find them, so you're not just blindly looking all over the place, which is nice. And then it's I would say it is worth going to get all those, and then pursuing the ending again. But yeah, I found a few of these things called flimsy hammers. I have no clue what to do with them. And ever since the game came out, I've been Googling Sea of Stars, flimsy hammers, and no one has figured it out yet. I don't know what it is. It's a very much an end game thing that people haven't. The internet needs to get on it. The game's been out for 48 hours.
Let's go, everybody.
Flimsy hammers would be a great Drag King name. I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of 48 hours, how long is this thing, Kyle?
So I beat it in I think 30. I was 25 or 30. I've been saying 25, but then I realized that I had already played the first 8 hours of the game. So I probably played that faster than most people would. Sure. But so I think about 30 hours, and then if I look at my clock, I think I'm at 45 now after doing all the extra stuff.
Sweet.
And to highlight this game more and to compliment it more, I beat the game, I wrote the review, I turned it in. I installed Starfield on my Xbox, but I just kept pulling up my Steam Deck and continuing to play Sea of Stars. I just didn't want to put it down. It's one of those games I kept looking for excuses to keep playing.
That's sweet. Yeah, so it's on Steam, it's on Switch. This is mind-boggling. It's on Game Pass, right? And then it's also PlayStation Plus Extra. It's just as blasted as an old school RPG can be on everything. So yeah, that's cool to see. Will you lose sleep if it's not in the upper 10s for the 210s at the end of the year? Is it to that level?
Oh, interesting. Oh man, I don't know, because I actually put my list together the other day thinking ahead of things, like a 10. There's a lot of good games this year. Okay. I think it'll certainly, well, I don't ever want to say it will certainly. I am very confident it will be on my personal top 10.
Sure.
Up there with Zelda and Pikmin 4 and stuff like that. Okay. But would I lose sleep over it not being in on the top 10? I would want it to be in the upper 10, I think, at this point. Yeah.
Okay. We'll be talking about it more in next week, because I know Kelsey and Sarah and I definitely want to dive in and check it out. But why dive into that when you have Armored Core 6, the fires of Rubicon are flaring up once again, everybody. We talked about it a little bit last week, and full disclosure, if you want, this is going to be a great conversation about this. but I promise it won't be as good. No offense, Jenna. As the deepest dive on Armored Core 6, because Jacob Geller and Renata Price and Sergio Vasquez are diving in deep on everything in this game for the deepest dive, which is in the bonus podcast feed if you're a Patreon supporter. But then also over there on YouTube if you want to watch it, because that is just a dream team for covering this game. They are so much smarter than I could ever hope to be talking about a game like Armored Core 6. So check out that deepest dive. Jacob's doing a great job. But Jenna, not to put you down before you open your mouth, but big From Software fan, Armored Core 6. I'm so curious to hear what you think about this.
Left and right in
Yeah, I don't know. I need to have my guard up. Into it. I'm into it. This is, I mean, to continue a recurring theme. I feel like Fallout is to Starfield as like Elden Ring is to Armored Core, where there is definitely some through lines, but I'm enjoying Armored Core relatively to the other FromSoft games more than I'm enjoying Starfield relative to other Bethesda games.
This is like those freaking standardized test questions.
So the fox
I'm taller than Kyle, but Kyle weighs less than what? Let me go back.
Kyle has butchers people on the moon.
So I am really enjoying Armored Core. There is definitely I think a hump that I had to get over, and I'm still hoping I'll get over that hump in Starfield as well. But because Armored Core is in some ways so clearly a FromSoft game, and especially in a lot of how the combat functions and the UI screen for swapping out items on the whole Armored Core building mechanic. It was all this is so FromSoft.
There's a lot.
Yeah, but then to repeat a criticism of Starfield, so one of the things I love most about the FromSoft games is the exploration aspect, where you have to fight your way through hordes to find this new area or this new item or this new boss that then you will then be focused on. And Armored Core doesn't really have that. It's definitely a segmented, you're in stages, you go from stage to stage, much like Starfield. But
interesting.
For Armored Core, it feels more purposeful. This is the structure of the game. This is not meant to be an exploration game. And once I got over my heartbreak about that aspect, I'm really into it. The movement is so satisfying. It's so good to fight big bosses in this game. Yeah,
just being a mech stomping around, and then especially the first time you hit that left stick boost, and it's just go flying. You combine that with the sword pretty early on. It's okay, this is a weird level of satisfaction. Yeah, but are you an Armored Core person? Did you play the other games much, Jenna?
Nope, never played it. I'm not even really a fan of mechs.
Well, anti-mech, interesting.
Mech apathetic.
Mech
not
apathetic.
Anti.
Okay.
Just don't care about it.
Yeah, it's so bizarre and just lovely to see the Armored Core series get this much attention. Kyle, I assume we're in the same camp of I don't know, playing Armored Core on the original PlayStation. Did you play the original at all, Kyle?
No, I 6 is the first one I've played, which I'm guessing is a statement a lot of people are saying.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think I would even go a level below apathetic and say that I have in the past actively disliked mech games because they feel so stiff and slow. Armored Core does not. It is not a stiff and slow game.
It's much more Zone of the Enders than Mech Warrior.
Yeah, yes. Zone of the Enders, in a big way, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But it's fun because I played these games on the PlayStation, and then I kind of bowed out after that. I think Armored Core 2, I think the GameSpot review wasn't glowing. So I'm I'm good. And now just to watch it build up this cult fan base that now gets to explode thanks to From Software's popularity now that Armored Core 6 comes out. It is delightful to see everybody losing their mind around building mechs in Armored Core. I never thought that it would get this much love, but it's sweet. You talk about the mission structure and stuff, Jenna. I was really surprised by how small these missions are. It just feels so contrary to so many modern games. But it's no, just run in, do a couple quick things, take out a couple targets, and that's it. Good job. Yeah. You can do it better if you want to. Try it again.
Yeah, and I part of me kind of likes that. I do feel the chumps that you have to get through to get to the big bosses are really chumpy. It does feel it's you're putting your hours on the clock, but that's not really what you're that on the job for. But then when you get to the end of a level and there's this weird mech you've never seen before that you don't know even if you could build a version of, and it's just it's that juicy from soft core of like, let me figure out how this robot is gonna move so that I can juke it and stab it in the back or whatnot. Like, oh, it's so good.
Yeah. Janet, what do you think of Armored Core?
It's cool. Honestly, it feels a lot like skating. Like it makes me think of skate games.
Interesting.
Like roller skate games.
Yeah.
Those who, I don't know, have followed me for a long time know I roller skate in real life. So I'm a fan of it in video games or things that feel reminiscent. It's one reason I really like Solar Ash, because while that game has a lot of cons to it, like it feels good to move around, and I'm like, sometimes I can just hang out and that's fine. This has a bit of that. Feels pretty comfortable. I mean, it is clunky to the degree that you are like a mech, but it's not. It doesn't feel like hard to maneuver necessarily. I definitely think I have a lot to learn in terms of being able to execute on an idea, in terms of combat. First boss wasn't too bad. I got through it with really just some tips from chat where, people are like, oh, you have to use like the sword.
For the helicopter?
Okay, cool. Stay under, learning how to do the stagger. So I definitely had to get walked through it, but I was able to complete that first boss a lot faster. If we think of, again, the FromSoft comparisons, it wasn't nearly as difficult out the gate. While normally, like, I don't know, you'd spend more time like doing the same thing over and over again. Like I was somewhat surprised that I was even able to like beat that first boss. And I know there's stuff later that's going to be harder.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, oh, this is the easiest first boss from like, as soon as I got there, I'm like, okay, guys, this is one of those things where like you can't beat it except for those who can. And then you clip it out and it's like, oh, I beat 10 unkillable bosses that you can actually beat. Is it that? And they're like, no. I'm like, is there a phase 2? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, sure. And not that I hate those things in FromSoft games. It's just what I expect in FromSoft games. So to not get that is like, oh, okay, this is a bit different than what you might expect given who made it.
I think the end of Act 1 boss is kind of that skill check from what I hear. That is that equivalent of like, all right, you think you know everything, piece it together and go. And, unlike their last games where you kind of pick a build. I know people, Jacob Geller and the crew in the Deepest Dive mentioned this too. It's like, it is much more about tweaking your Armored Core and going in like, okay, this isn't quite working. The thrill is in, let's try different legs. Let's try different weapons. Let's really customize the heck out of this thing because you want to be switching it up depending on what you're beating your head against the wall about even more than the standard from software game. But
and the mech customization is incredible also.
Yeah,
like I spent probably at least an hour or more doing that.
Nice.
I made Sailor Mech. It's the Sailor Moon themed mech and it looks
Janet,
incredible.
My heart.
And I'm not gonna lie, Jenna, I kind of bit your
style.
style.
There's an ongoing theme for this
podcast.
Because
when I saw your character from Baldur's Gate 3 and you're like, oh, I like made like the Sailor Moon type character. I'm like, yeah, of course. I'm making Sailor Moon in almost everything. So I was like, Sailor Mech, this is gonna be great. And I like spent so long like you can also do a lot. Like I'm playing on console, like PlayStation 5, so it's a little harder to do some of like the custom images, like because you'd have to like maybe get on a computer and upload. It's just a little funkier for that. But outside of that portion, which is already very cool, like I saw someone made Kirby because you can import Kirby's eyes and just paste it onto a pink mech, and then it's like, oh, Kirby Planet Robobot if it had realistic visuals, yes, like So I had a lot of fun doing that. I have to continue playing it because I have to now use the mech I made. Like that's commitment enough already. Where I'm like, well, before it's like I can kind of take or leave it, but I'm like I gotta at least give it a couple more hours and see how it goes because I love my mech. It's the coolest thing I've ever made.
You can't abandon that.
So I have to keep using it.
I get it.
And then also this game put me in the mood to play Costume Quest again for some reason.
Because of the mech robot costume?
Yeah, that's my only like mech experience is Costume Quest.
Like the little cutscene of the guy coming down?
I'm sorry. Like I was in here playing Armored Core on the PlayStation 1, Like, yeah, I guess so too. But my mech experience is going to be a cute experience.
Okay.
And doesn't mean it's not quality. Those are, Costume Quest is pretty just okay. But most of the Kirby Planet Robots are a fantastic game. And Armored Core is seemingly great according to critical consensus. So yeah, sure, why not?
Can I much like my Baldur's Gate question, which is what are y'all playing? What kind of build y'all make?
I'm running default.
Left, hot default build. I looked at did I want the different shaped head, and I decided it wasn't as cute looking, so I stuck with the default head.
I like a super rusty default with a glowing orange head. Jenna, if that's up your alley.
Yeah, I love that. Did anybody? I got the chicken legs that make you jump up really directly, like just like really tall. Nice. I love that. I'm running like a super fast close combat run right now where it's like, I still got the sword, love the sword. I want more swords. I would love some sort of axe maybe. We'll see. But something that closes distances quick and slashes them up.
Yeah.
But it does feel like playing it was interesting. The vibe I got from it was like, this is a really, just the feeling it evoked to me was like, it's chill. We're kind of, again, we keep making like the Starfield comparisons. It's like the good version of something to do. Like, it's straightforward combat. Like, you shoot stuff and hit the crap out of it.
That's
like, okay, people, you know what to do immediately. It's not as like, slow strategic. Again, there's not as much out the gate versatility. Again, you can go into your build later as like Jenna has. But it's like, okay, cool. It's something to do. It's clear what you need to do. There's not a lot of like, I don't know, messing with things. Like, I felt like it's the kind of game where it's like, you could pour heavy hours into this, get a pizza, and just chill and be a freaking robot and like wander around. And like, that's the vibe it has. And it's a very like, fun vibe despite being FromSoft, which I know people have fun with FromSoft. But FromSoft is the kind of fun where it's like a dense book. Like, there's great novels I love that are really hard to read. This feels more like chill in a sense, even though there is a lot of strategy implored as you get deeper. But out the gate, it's like, anyone who plays a video game could pick this up and like understand it in a way that that isn't always like the case as much with FromSoft. Like the tips and the backseating I got in this were a lot more pure strategy rather than like, actually, if you change the whatever, and then I'm like, okay, like, that's fine.
I'm sure
too,
that's
like,
coming.
It's a different flow.
Right.
It's less fussy. I think Armored Core is less fussy. Like it's very clear cut in laying down like what you need to do, and it's just a matter of, I hate to say it, I'm not going to say it. It's just a matter of working to improve your skills.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Another one of these.
But it is less, there's less fussing that you need to do. Like, sometimes you'll have to fuss with your mech a little bit. But like, mostly it's about like just getting in there and playing around with it until you find the strategy that works for you. But it's not as punishing as the FromSoft games are. And whether that's a good thing or not for you personally is a matter of preference. I don't mind the punishingness to a certain extent, but it is kind of nice to get into a game where it has that delicious FromSoft combat, but also you don't have to fuss. That's just it. You just don't have to fuss.
Yeah, it made me think of, this is one of my favorite little tidbits from an interview, but the first time I visited From Software, we interviewed the studio's managing director, Takeuchi, and we're talking about just like the wild success of the Soulsborne series for them, and how that's impacted the studio and the reception and how much praise they're getting from other game developers out there. And he had the funny take where he's like, in the past, everybody called From Software's games games. It's one of those where we double check the translation. It's like, oh no, he's just saying shitty games. He's like, yeah, everyone in the past used to say that these are all shitty games that we made, and then suddenly people said we were geniuses when we started doing Demon Souls and Dark Souls, but we haven't changed our approach to games or game design. You all just came around to it. Which is like, now it's fascinating seeing them come back to Armored Core, and everyone's like, oh, brilliant. And it's like, okay, they still see it as a continuing trend.
Demon Souls is a shitty game. I'm sorry.
Wow, really? That's the only one I've beaten.
But
you beat?
Yeah, because
I'm so impressed.
Like, don't be. I was carried to hell. I was like, who's in my game? Y'all run ahead, because if I die, you guys leave, and then we got to do it all over again. Like, and that's not to disparage because also you can't ghost people in until after you beat like the first 1 or 2 bosses. So that was all me. And I beat that first boss, and I died when I beat it, and it's like a simultaneous death. Like, we both died at the same time. It was very anime, or Shakespearean, depending on your purview.
Anime!
And yeah, like I liked it because it's simple, it's slow, it's closed quarters. It's like, I mean, there's things I don't like about it for sure, where it's like, okay, why is level 1 like up these stairs that you can fall down? Like, just little things that don't need to be weird. But yeah, that's like the only one that I can wrap my head around, I think.
Yeah,
so
with the remake,
I like
it definitely
the bad
helps.
one.
All right, there we go. Hey, Jenna, it's time you are quizzed on this. Do you know how this whole thing operates? by chance?
I think it's Patreon, if I remember correctly.
That's right. The website that you know intimately, including the back end of now. It's patreon.com/MinnMax with 2 N's. Go there, find a tier that's right for you. And remember, if you support us on Thursday or Friday of this week, so the 31st or the 1st, we will send you an Xbox code. But thank you to some of our biggest supporters. And if you don't know who they are, Jeffem, I'll tell you who they are right about now. DoorDash, everybody. You know DoorDash, don't you, Jeffem?
Of course, everyone knows DoorDash.
That's kind of the interesting thing about DoorDash is like, oh, promote DoorDash. Like, everyone's already using it. It's like, yeah, but they want students to use it in colleges. Like, they're going to use DoorDash. You guys, you can all relax. Like, this is already a lock. But
please play a piss.
Please. They want everybody to know that you can get the back-to-school savings you really want, and you can get unlimited free DoorDash delivery with a new thing called Dash Pass. It's just $4.99 a month for students. And then they say, how worth it? So worth it. That's what they say about this Dash Pass. Janet, you seem like somebody who's used DoorDash in your life.
Yeah.
In your human life.
That feels like a targeted statement, but
I don't know.
What can I say? When stuff goes down, I need a little bit of help. And when I need help, I go to DoorDash.
That's it. With $0 delivery fees, exclusive items, and more than 25,000 members-only offers nationwide, Dash Pass by DoorDash is everything you need to make this semester memorable. And for a limited
Also,
time.
I've had Dash Pass before as well.
Really?
Times. Yeah.
Whoa, there we
I
go.
got a free trial through my credit card. And honestly, if you dash more than, I would say, maybe 2 times a month, like, it pays for itself.
So for a limited time, you get 50% off up to $10 on your next order of $15 plus when you sign up for Dash Pass student plan and enter the promo code MinnMax. That's 50% off of up to 10% or $10 on your next order of $15 plus when you sign up for the Dash Pass student plan when you enter code MinnMax. Don't forget, the code is MinnMax for 50% off when you sign up for the Dash Pass student plan. Students, listen up. Also, you know who should be listening up? People who have too many subscriptions to things. That's right. Rocket Money's back, everybody. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Rocket Money, Jeffem, are you familiar with these folks?
I've heard of Rocket Mortgage.
Shut up, you idiot! Kill it! This is Rocket Money. Rocket Money. Did you find any subscriptions you forgot about? Any you paid for twice, didn't realize it? Has this ever happened to you? That is what Rocket Money's here to help you with. They can cancel a subscription for you that otherwise might be tricky or time consuming. I appreciate Rocket Money because I went to the YouTube channel to see if they had any B-roll available, and their entire YouTube channel is like, how to cancel Comcast, how to cancel this, how to cancel this. It's a really diabolical way because people find it and then they give a plug for Rocket Money in that, so you know they're a smart company.
Good.
That guides content, man.
That's exactly what it is. It's totally guides content. But did you know that over 80% of people have subscriptions to that they've forgotten about? Did you know that, Jenna?
I didn't. I'm
well,
shocked.
there we go. Rocket Money can help you out for this thing. Rocket Money can even negotiate to lower your bills for you by up to 20%. All you have to do is take a picture of your bill, and Rocket Money takes care of the rest. Well, I'll be damned. Stop wasting money on things you don't use. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions, and manage your money the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/MinnMax. That's rocketmoney.com/MinnMax. Rocketmoney.com/MinnMax. Rocket to the stars is not their slogan. Thank you to I Am 8-Bit.
It's really chaotic.
They want everybody to know about Primal, the vinyl soundtrack to Primal, which is Jendy Tartakovsky's latest TV show on Adult Swim. Check out the vinyl soundtrack. Believe it or not, it's an I Am 8-Bit exclusive, and so it's freaking beautiful and includes a double-sided fold-out poster. The music is great. The album art by Jendy Tartakovsky and Scott Willis is fantastic. So check out I Am 8-Bit's wonderful online store, and if you go to that wonderful online store, you can use the promo code Goat Cheese Month. Goat Cheese Month, everybody, for 10% off of everything that's under $100. Check out their online store because there's so much good stuff, and help support I Am 8-Bit, please, because they support the MinnMax community in a huge way. They support the MinnMax community, this I Am 8-Bit outlet, by shipping out a prize from their online store each and every week. Whoever has the best question submitted over there on Patreon. So if you support us at any tier on Patreon, you can submit a question that we will answer on this podcast. We're going to choose our favorite, and that person wins a prize from I Am 8-Bit. And this week, it is the Behind the Frame vinyl soundtrack. So all of us need to remember exactly what each person who wrote in said and requested, and the general mirth that it creates. And then we're going to award that person with a big prize. Ready, Kyle?
Mirth is a location in Sea of Stars.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That's kind of like Middle and Earth combined. That's fun. Oh, Kyle, I was going to ask, in Sea of Stars, do they do the Chrono Trigger move that isn't fun? Like one of the only weak things about Chrono Trigger, which we kind of hinted at with From Software stuff, are there bosses where you're supposed to lose? Because Chrono Trigger has like 3 or 4 of them, and it's a little annoying.
Classic.
No, I don't think so.
All right, smart. Yeah.
Is it possible you just beat all of them because you're an elite gamer?
I mean, no, it's not. But
Kyle, did you get a haircut? You're looking good today, man.
Oh, thank you. No, not recently.
Jeff, lob a compliment to Kyle, please.
I mean, I'll take them.
Kyle, I love your glasses.
Yeah.
Oh, those are kind of new. They have magnets on them, so I can put sunglasses on top.
Oh, it's one of those.
Oh.
Yeah, I
I've seen
love those.
I bet that looks cool. David Tubbs writes in and says, "Hey crew, with all these wonderful long games out, I find myself hesitant to start any because I'm afraid I don't have enough time right now to fully experience them. I'm also craving more short experience that I know I can finish. What would you say is your perfect game length?" This has got to change by genre. It's kind of a tricky question. 90 minutes.
I only say that because people were talking in my chat about Venba and I haven't played it yet.
Yeah.
I've just been too busy and people are like, "You got to, it's only 90 minutes." And I'm like, okay, yeah, maybe I'll do it on the plane or something. But then everyone started joking in my chat that they're like, "I wish every game was 90 minutes." They're like, "What would the 90 minutes cut?" I was playing Kingdom Hearts be? And I'm like, oh my God, it's so chaotic and not even gonna fit all this stuff in there. So definitely like, some games do require more. I think if I can't get a short game, like at the 90, which I think is ideal, because if you stretch it more, it's like 3 to 4. But if, you just mainline, it might even be an hour. I think for like most games, the longest I actually like a game to be would be maybe like 20 or 18, because it gives me space to like really have time to go into the weeds without still spending that many hours.
Yeah.
So that's probably my ideal.
That's where I'm at. And I think across the board, genre-wise, honestly, it's like about 15. Because if I really love it, I don't want it to be too short. But
even like RPGs, like
once you
the thing is, like, I got like 100+ hours in Breath of the Wild, but like it doesn't take that to beat it. And if it took really long to beat it, what am I gonna do? 300 hours? And I know some people do. But
tell
like,
Jeff on that, please. Yeah.
It doesn't give me. I feel like I don't have as much space. I think, especially with so many games coming out, I'd prefer the option to go deep with the ability to get out.
That is the sweet spot.
At a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah. I do like the idea of making the shorter versions of games that already exist. Like I remember Matt Bird's back at Game Informer, he was always demanding a new game minus option, or like a director's cut where it is just like a lesser version. But imagine if like, I really feel like Ubisoft could sell like, hey, here's Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but we remixed it and it's now a 4-hour game. I would pay $20 for that. You know what I mean? Like
as DLC, interesting.
Yeah, DLC, just remixing it and whittling it all down.
DLC or something. They're gonna have
something there.
I'm in like the 5 to 8 hour range. I feel like I loved Venba. My only complaint about Venba is that I wish there were more gameplay to play.
Sure.
And like that's my only critique about it. So I feel like 90 minutes would almost be too little. And if there's a good core concept to the gameplay, like it doesn't, what I love is a really focused game that has like one core concept. I think Viewfinder is a great example of this. It has a core concept. It iterates on that concept in a lot of interesting ways. And then it excuses itself to go home. It's like,
I want to leave.
yeah.
I want to get out of here.
Yeah, we're all feeling this is the moment, right? To end the party. Like, and I feel like 5 to 8 is like the right vibe where it's like, that's like a good length for like an indie game. They're not going to stretch themselves or they're not going to like cram it full of content just to make it longer, which is where I'm at with a lot of open world games where it's like you just needed more game, so you added more game, but that doesn't make it a better game. And so I feel like 5 to 8 is my golden hour.
Yeah. I think for RPGs, 20 to 30. And I'm sure that's sacrilegious for a lot of people, but like, I'm trying to think of the RPGs where like after 30, I was like, now I understand these characters in a whole new way. It's like, I think I get it. I think you can say what you got to say and show me the systems you got to show me within 30 hours, but maybe that's controversial. But yeah, I mean, it is amazing just how compelling, and a lot of it's just being in the podcast circuit, and trying to keep up with modern stuff. So we complain too much about that type of thing. But when you hear about a short game, it increases my interest so much more. Like hearing Stray Gods, like, it's like 6 hours. All right, I will happily beat Stray Gods. Yeah, like that sounds like a great game to jump in right now. Yeah, yep.
Oh, how'd you like it?
I liked it. Did you play it?
No.
Did I tell you that it's like under 6 hours? Okay.
I've heard from a lot of people that it might not be where I need to spend my time, which is very limited in such a hot year.
But what if I sang to you, Jenna, about why it is where you need to spend your time?
See, I feel like I heard Jenna then, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I also heard Jenna, but I knew he was talking to you.
I know.
I would have said yes. I do need to hear you.
We should just start
it.
actually answering. Like,
Both of us.
You hear a J? Let's just start talking at once.
Yeah, that's smart. Slick James writes in. They say, "Hey, MinnMax, what is your favorite robot? This can include games, cartoons, anime, comics."
The sassy Rogue One robot.
K2SO.
Is that true?
Right? I think so.
It's the first one I thought of.
Yeah.
Mine,
I like it.
Tars
from Interstellar.
Yeah.
Oh,
The Minecraft
that's
bot.
good.
He is cool.
Just because like visually how practically they did it, and then it's also got a good sense of humor, and it's like also really genuinely useful and like life-saving. And I love Tars.
That's a really good answer.
I like when he runs.
Thank you.
How practical was he?
I mean, they had someone on set who was basically manipulating him like a puppet, and then I think they removed him digitally.
Oh.
He's just like little legs.
And then when it would go full transformer, I think maybe there's a couple of wide shots where it's full CG, but for the most part, it was someone like it almost functioned like stilts, like they were just kind of moving it around,
It must have been
and it was the
nice.
voice actor, I believe.
I know it gets memed a lot now, but like I love that movie.
Yeah, there's so
great.
much good stuff in that movie
great.
for sure. Although I'm still annoyed by the premise of Interstellar, where it's like, Earth sucks. We gotta go find a new planet. Earth's ruined. And they go to these planets, and they're going to like an all-water planet. They're like, maybe. And then you see Earth, and it's just like, it's like 20% dustier. But everyone's like, we need something else. Like, if you found this planet out there, you jump on that one. What I'm saying is ride or die with Earth, everybody.
Yeah. Earth over here.
I mean,
Corn,
pretty
what are we
much.
complaining about?
Yeah, then that is pretty much what it's going to be. So
Great. I'm looking forward to
I think we'll be gone though by then.
it. Even better.
my favorite robot is
Perfect transition.
this is probably because we were talking about Fallout, or because I specifically was talking about Fallout 76 so much. But there's a robot that was introduced this year that is named Chloe the Clown. She's part of the like Nuka World Carnival area, and she's based on like the French nanny robot, which there are variants of. But they have like sloppily painted her like a clown, and she's just a delight. And maybe it's just because I spend so much time in Nuka World, but I love. She has one voice line where she's like, "Lady G always tells me the same fortune, that I will pop the next balloon I have. How does she always know?" And it's like, you're a robot, sweetie. I love you. I love you so much. You're a robot. That's why your balloons keep popping. She's just a delight.
She does look really good.
Yeah, isn't she
What is
great?
it? Chloe? I want to look her up.
Chloe
Yeah.
the Clown, Fallout 76.
There's like the classics of like HK-47 from Knights of the Old Republic. Like, he's funny. He likes to murder people. That's fun. Kyle, I don't know where you stand on this, but like Mega Man, but specifically Mega Man Volnut from Legends. Like, he's a little charming little boy of a robot. He's
I guess
sweet.
they are. He's fully robot. All
He
the
is.
iterations of Man, isn't he? He's not. He's not cyborg. Yeah.
But my answer is going to be Uncle Simon from The Twilight Zone. There's an old episode of The Twilight Zone. And it's just, I love just stupid looking robots from the 50s and 60s. And so the premise of this Twilight Zone is there's like just this miserable old man who's just mean and cruel. And then his niece comes to live with him for the last couple of years of his life. Because she's like, look, he's so rich. He's going to die soon. I'm going to get all of his money. This is going to be so sweet. So yeah, he's a dick, but I'll put up with it for a couple of years. And
We're getting a lot of swears in this pod. Are we like now a swearing pod? Because I've been holding back for like 2 years.
Changed,
yeah, let it fly.
Father
yeah,
has changed.
You became a
bad
father
now.
and now you're swearing.
Yeah, that's
backwards,
interesting. Because like
dude.
I don't give a shit what my kid hears. Like
No, my kid has taught me some great swear words so far. It's really wonderful. And you're dealing more with shit than you ever have before, I guess. So it makes sense, right?
Yes, that's true.
I think we should have once a year a swear pod where we can just talk about anything, but we can actually swear.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, I wonder in the ratings, would that be a net positive or net negative for us?
We could make it like Patreon exclusive or something. I don't know.
Anyways, Janet, so the Twilight Zone, there's this mean old uncle, and he
full Norm Macdonald there.
he eventually dies, and the niece is like, oh, this is sweet. Now I get all of this money and everything that he made throughout his life. And it turns out he made a robot that's just the stupidest looking 50s or 60s robot you can imagine. But the horrible thing is that she has to take care of the house and all of his belongings, or else she loses the inheritance. So she has to take care of this robot, but he programmed the robot to be like him. So he's just as mean and as nasty. And then she like loses it, and she eventually pushes the robot down the stairs to try and kill it. So then it doesn't kill it. And then the robot just has a cane, just like the old man did. So it's a stupid 50s robot with a cane, like swearing at this little lady. So the Uncle Simon robot, I guess, is the best.
Wait, is it just the what's the show about the family that's lost in space?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Is it just the Lost in Space?
It does look a lot like Danger,
seriously.
Will Robinson robot. Yeah. Stephen Stitt writes in and says, "What's the best form of eggs?"
I love
I like
eggs.
over easy.
Over easy.
Yeah, I like the yolk kind of like running a little bit.
Oh, I can't do it. I go.
That's fair. Some people think it's nasty.
This is picky, but it's over hard. But then also just on some nice crispy toasted bread for a nice egg sandwich. I think that might be peak egg consuming for me.
Deviled?
Deviled, you
Ooh,
devil,
good.
Kyle.
I like when you get the egg whites and you whip them up and then you do something with the egg whites. That's my favorite variant of eggs.
See, you're like trying to live forever with those egg whites.
Yeah.
Also, I started your
no.
book, by the way.
Yes, you did. Has your
Yes.
life changed yet? Is it magic yet?
It hasn't changed yet. It's a Mikado book for people who don't listen to every episode. Which, if you're not listening to every episode, you're missing critical lore. So
This is
go
the
back.
lore.
You have nothing but time.
The deep lore.
But yeah, no, I'm waiting to finish it before I do everything. But I'm excited.
Yes, I'm
change my
so
life.
excited. God, okay, I can't wait to hear.
One more
how
time.
it
What
goes.
was the actual question? Oh, the egg
She's kind of changed her whole tune though recently. Hasn't Parenthood kind of
Marie Kondo?
Yeah, she's got kids
change
now. She
everything.
Oh
doesn't
yeah,
care.
yeah,
She
she's
said,
super
I got
chill
a crap
now.
house. I don't care.
There's nothing
I
we
love
can do
it.
about
Hey,
it.
I'm a
she's got her-
millionaire and I got kids.
That's a good. It's probably
Who
more
wants
the
to clean it?
millionaire than the kids part of it.
I think it's she's gotten older. I will say I feel like there's a vein of anxiety that runs through the that if you listen to it or you read it, you're sort of like, oh, she is stressed out about stuff, and that's a totally fair stance to take, and she's leveraged it into a business. But like,
Yeah.
there's a
I'm
core of
proud of her.
anxiety there. Yeah, I'm happy for her. She deserves it. I love her.
Her kids
Love
better
her.
hope her kids bring her joy, because good Lord.
Wow, Ben,
Tweet-
again.
Yeah, what's going on?
She's the problem. Owen McCarter wrote in, and Owen says, "Hey, MinnMax, is the new standard of $70 for new releases really justified? I get that development costs have gone up, but some of my favorite recent games, as well as my most anticipated, remain at $60. Resident Evil 4, Armored Core 6, Alan Wake 2, all $60 games. So is $70 justified yet?"
I kind of
my-
think that.
My
Yeah.
thought is always like from the consumer angle, it's like keep those prices low. Like please, like let's not go any higher. I don't want to spend more on video games, but then like I do hear the arguments about development costs and stuff, and it's like, all right, well, I get it, but like from a consumer perspective, I don't care. I just want to spend less on a video game.
and it's also like from a consumer standpoint, like we just talked about how our ideal length of a game is like 8 to 15 hours. And so why does every game have to be a $70 100-hour game
Right.
packed with stuff that no one was asking for in the first place?
I mean, $70 for an hour or for 100 hours worth of entertainment is an incredible value.
Good deal.
Like that is an insane value, but I would much prefer to spend like $30 on a $10-hour game. Like I would just I would prefer to pay a reasonable amount for a reasonable length game. My instinct is that like I want to support increased developer costs, right? Like I want to support game studios that are making games that I would like to play. So I'm okay paying more for it. But I would also love for like game studios to unionize so that I knew that money was actually going to the people making the game and not just padding out like the people at the top, like the executives who are making the most amount of money. So it's like rising developer costs, I think, is such a kind of a disingenuous angle to take into account when you consider like where the money in companies is actually going, especially larger AAA games. So it's like, yes, I'll pay $70, maybe unionize, so I know that that money is actually going to increase development costs and supporting the people actually making the game.
Right. Not Andrew Wilson. Come on. RabidLime writes in, they say, hey there. So crummy news just hit. Me, the developers behind Desperados 3, Shadow Tactics, Blades of the Shogun, and the recently released Shadow Gambit, The Cursed Crew, all excellent, they say. The studio is closing due to the industry taking a heavy toll on the developers and their families. This news sucks, but especially as Commandos was one of my first PC games, and seeing a new studio revive the genre so well was fantastic, but also is another example of the toll that game development takes. In the bigger picture, where do you think we as customers sit in all this? Are people's demands too high? Are subscription services like Game Pass not getting studios the numbers and money they need to keep going? What are your thoughts? I don't mean to be a bummer. That's okay, RabidLime. Yeah, this story really struck a chord, I feel like, with a lot of people, and the more I see about it, the more it's heartbreaking, because, Jeff, you played these games, right?
Yeah, and they are all great. It is... I have not seen the story or what their reasoning was.
It was just we basically, hey, we can't keep going. It's taking too much of a heavy toll, as they said. But then also as a matter of like, yeah, just for work-life balance and overall success of the games, like we gotta fold up shop here, which is such a bummer from a studio that's been cranking out really well-received games for so long.
Yeah. As soon as I heard about that, I thought, like, they're great games, but it is a very narrow niche that they have for those games. And like the reader said, like I found out about them because I played the original Commandos as well. And it is such an interesting genre, and they were doing great justice to it. But I'm not surprised, I guess, that they're, not selling through the roof. So it's unfortunate.
Yeah, it's gonna turn-based tactics for the genre here.
Is it a fiscal reason, or is it an emotional, like, game development is stressful?
It feels like everything.
From the writing of it, at least,
Yeah. I guess I would be curious to know in more fine detail, because it's like you can be making money doing something, but it can still be deleterious to your soul. It can still be it can still be like just the act of doing it can be sufficiently bad that you don't want to continue, even if you are making money at it, right? That's what burnout is.
Right. And I'm sure they kind of fueled each other, where it's like, oh, if we were more successful with these games, we could bring on more people on the team, and maybe that would alleviate some of the stress. And sure, it's kind of feeding into each other there.
Yeah. Probably.
Pate Rion says, this is for Jeffem and doesn't need to be on the show, but I'm putting it on the show. I know he's a Mahjong fan and has trouble finding an accurate representation. He should check out Kimono Mahjong. I have it on Android. I'm assuming it's on iOS too. It's made by Cyberdog Software, and it's great. So Kemono Mahjong, Jeffem.
Okay, I thought it was like a kimono.
Apparently
Kemono.
That's right.
Right.
This is the part of the podcast where Jeffem and I just send messages to each other.
Any other Android games I should?
Let's see. Mike McCullough writes in and says, "Good day to you all. Whenever you're consuming your favorite form of art or entertainment, do you ever feel like you know too much? Lately, I've been finding myself unable to fully focus on games that I've been playing or movies that I'm watching because I can see behind the curtain, so to speak. I've been following video games and the game industry since I was a kid, reading about their development in magazines and eventually listening about a game's progress every step of the way from podcasts and such. Do you ever feel like you know too much?"
Nah.
No.
That empty.
No.
I need more.
Interesting.
I'm too dumb to have that problem. I think it's a smart person problem.
I think we have the same answer, but for different reasons. It's like, I'll never know everything about how all these function, and every single piece of media has a different story behind its production. So it's like, even if I know how other games by that company are like, you'll never know enough. You'll never know enough.
Yeah.
You think you know enough? You think you know too much? No.
Yeah, I think
it seems like a pretty easy problem to solve, though. Like, just don't look into as much behind the scenes stuff.
Go live in a cabin in the
production.
woods.
Yeah, go live in a cabin in the woods,
please,
alone.
I don't know. Like, I love learning about the development of games. So I don't think I really feel it there, but I do see what they're saying when it comes to like movies. I know,
that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, smarter people than me have talked a lot about it, and I maybe I'm just quoting blank check probably, but that idea of like watching superhero movies, it feels like we've all turned into executives of superhero movies about just managing larger universes and like, okay, they have to do this because of this, and like, you know, just seeing the leaked stills and stuff from like Deadpool 3. I'm not the biggest fan of Deadpool out there. I guarantee I'm not, but I think it's a fun thing that they're doing, but at the same time, it's like, we shouldn't know this much, where like the leaked image is them like fighting in front of like a destroyed giant stone version of the 20th Century Fox logo. And this is an example of like, this is where we're at with movies, is like just fully leaning into like, we're all very aware of the corporate structure and the mergers and everything that's happened to get us to the point of Deadpool 3. It's like, there's something kind of gross about that. When you have to explain, you know, to a kid like, okay, well, Spider-Man and Spider-Man's villains, they're not going to be interacting with the rest of the MCU because that's a Sony thing. It's just like, what have we become that we know all this and it's impacting the storytelling in such a clear way? It all feels surreal. So I feel
that's
it there.
Fair. Yeah, I guess I'm coming from an academic background, and the drive behind that academic core is like, you know, you need to know as much as you can because that's how you get a fuller understanding, and how you build ideas and theories is like you have this grounding of information. But like there are very few pieces of media that I approach as a fan anymore. It's just not how I live my life.
Part of what kind of feels like it makes this exhausting is that we're talking about Disney for most of it. Like 90% of it is all Disney and Marvel and Star Wars stuff that, I'd be happy if I never heard more about how that stuff's produced.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should check out some of those assembled on Disney Plus's, the behind the scenes for Marvel. It's really revealing. No, they're so dry. They're so unbelievably dry. Okay.
I like them.
Oh, really? I love them too. Travis and Fargo writes in.
You folded really fast there. Is that all? I feel like we're default too then. Okay, go ahead.
I love it. Travis and Fargo writes in and they say, hey, do you bet that the 1997 hit film Flubber has aged well? They say, oh, we cracked Jenna. They say, I doubt it. They say, I doubt it, but I don't think anyone has seen it in over 20 years. I think that's true. We all have the vague sense that Flubber hasn't aged well, but I checked the data. Not one person on Earth has watched Flubber in the last 20 years. It's alarming, dare I say.
You're going to make me watch Flubber.
No, I'm not.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Ben. I have to know now.
I am surely the only one here who saw the original one of those movies.
You were there with your ticket on opening night, big Jerry Lewis fan, whatever the hell.
My 10-cent ticket.
Your powdered wig.
So I wanted to say Nutty Professor. It's not. What is the original movie for Flubber called? Crazy Professor?
It's just called Flubber.
The Absent-Minded Professor.
Absent-Minded Professor. Wait, so...
It was Disney. It was Disney. Could be on Disney Plus now.
Hang on. So Nutty Professor...
2.5 on Letterboxd.
Oof. Nutty Professor was remade in the 90s as the Eddie Murphy film we all love dearly, intimately in our hearts. But then there's also a film called Absent-Minded Professor that was also remade in the 90s?
Yeah, we couldn't get it. We couldn't get enough crazy doctors.
They put the rubber on the bottom of basketball players' shoes. Right.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
But
it was all practical effects back then.
It was just a bunch of stilts.
You're eating Flubber up in these reviews. People did not seem to like Flubber.
Is that right? What are the Rotten Tomatoes for Flubber?
No, Letterboxd reviews are like my favorite things because some people just use it for like the memes and they'll just put like a little silly joke in there and like it's the best review platform I've seen.
Speaking of best robots, Flubber has a robot that tries to marry Robin Williams' character, I think.
Oh, I thought you were going to say...
Professes its love for him near the end.
I thought you were going to say, speaking of best robot, Bicentennial Man. Speaking of Robin Williams. Or Robots, his hit film that he was in.
Bicentennial Man is a movie that recently, I do this all the time, where I just was like, Bicentennial Man. I'm going to go read every bit of IMDb trivia about Bicentennial Man. I have no plans to watch that movie. I don't think I've seen that movie. What if I just went and read all the IMDb trivia?
Do you want me to like knock on your door next time and be like, Kyle, snap out of it. You're doing it again.
I like when Kyle falls down these like chaotic holes.
I am like, we were talking about like movies being ruined. You know, I just like consume IMDb trivia, which is like not even really particularly reliable, right? Like it's just people submitting their own like factoids about movies. But yeah, movies that I love, I just like will.
But you don't love Bicentennial Man. You said you don't love this movie.
My most recent one was actually Theodore Rex. That was the one that I was like, well, I got to go read all the IMDb trivia for Theodore Rex starring Whoopi Goldberg.
What's happening, Kyle?
Kyle,
do you need an intervention?
Yeah, here's the gamble, Kyle. You can't look it up right now, but you're allowed to keep doing this and keep going down your freaky rabbit rat hole. But you need to remember one detail right now and share it with us about the making of Theodore Rex with Whoopi Goldberg.
Oh, it's fascinating. Whoopi Goldberg had a verbal contract, like she agreed to do the film and tried adamantly, violently to get out of it. And it was like it was just a terrible set experience because she was like, I don't want to be here. I can't believe I accidentally agreed to do this.
She violently attacked the Rex himself?
I don't know if she did that, but yeah.
Oh my God.
By the way, shout out Theodore Rex's IMDb trivia. Go check it out. Some good stuff in there.
You guys get a load of this. Save it.
That's right.
Marriott Player says, hey, MinnMax. Ben, on the last episode of Party Chat, your bonus podcast for Patreon supporters, you said that Men in Black might be a perfect movie. Well, I'm here to tell you that you're right. It is a perfect movie. Thank you for writing, and I appreciate that. But they say, what video game do you all think might be perfect?
Yoshi's Island.
Great. Jeff, you can't say Tetris.
Really
just keep it interesting.
That's also up there,
Yeah. Yoshi's, except for that long underground maze, that level towards the end, it's just, other than that.
Have you tried getting good, Ben? Come on.
What does perfect
That's what put the
mean
hair
to
on
you,
the chest
Ben?
of the children who played that game.
Are you excited to play that level, Janet?
So hairy.
There's no way.
Am I excited to go through the maze?
Yeah.
I'm down for the maze.
Down for, but
why not? Like, I haven't gone through the maze in a long time, I will say.
Maze is optional, though,
it sucks.
right? I mean, if we're being honest.
I don't think so.
Is there? Well, there's two mazes, right?
There's multiple mazes. There's one at the end that's called like the long underground maze or something, and it lives up to that name. It sucks. Other than that, perfect game.
We drew it. We drew it out on notepads. That's how we did it.
Ooh, that's cool. That's cool.
Back when we had paper,
I feel like, it's easier for like shorter games to be perfect. Or it's like Portal 1, pretty easy to say that's a perfect game, right?
Perfect.
Yeah,
I don't like the bouncy electric ball puzzles, though.
Well, you're wrong. I'm sorry, Kyle.
What if IMDb had a fun fact? They're actually good.
I listened to all the commentary for
Whoopi
both Portal
Goldberg
games. That stuff exists, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I love Portal 1. I don't want to send out the wrong signals here. Portal 2 is the one that I point to as the perfect.
Yeah, Portal 2.
Yeah,
it's the 11 out of 10 game.
Wow. I was thinking of like other big games that are like it's perfect. Resident Evil 4. I think it's time tested enough to be like who's gonna say that game ain't perfect? Reviewers? What the hell do they know?
I mean, Mega Man X1 is, for me, like just the pace of that game, and it's not super long, and just even the follow-ups, which kept adding new things to it. I was like, you don't need all this. Just like 8 bosses. And,
did you? There's some Mega Man style game that released within the last month. Is it like the 30XX or
30XX? Yeah,
did
which
you
I
try
played
it?
a little bit of, but I the randomized levels just don't mesh with me for a Mega Man X style game. It feels great moving around in that game. I love it.
Yeah,
and the bosses are cool, but I like Mega Man X having a very specific, these levels, you're going to learn these, there's secrets in here, and you can even figure out great ways to get through them really quickly. So yeah. Those XX games I think are well done, but just don't really quite scratch the Mega Man itch in the way I want them to.
Right. You're more of a BMX XXX guy. I get it. Luca Alberti writes in.
Hold on. I just love how like fundamentally different that game is from Mega Man X on like every level.
I haven't played
X's.
Yeah, God, it's an X game, dude.
Mega Man X3 was a prequel to BMX.
Luca Alberti, they write in, they say, hello crew. Last week I went bowling with some friends. Quit bragging. And a friend of mine casually dropped in the conversation that they were working on a D&D campaign based on Metroid. My jaw dropped, and my new objective is helping them finish it and localizing it for more people to enjoy. Localizing is interesting. I don't know what's going on here.
Interesting use of that word.
Into Chozo-ese. But that is like their favorite video game fan project. But then they also say, honorable mention when it comes to video game fan projects for Rhythm Heaven Reanimated, which I didn't know what it was. Kyle, have you seen this?
No, I haven't heard of this at all.
Look it up on YouTube. It's called Rhythm Heaven Reanimated. They take all of the little mini games from the Rhythm Heaven series, but the cool thing is they had a different animator animate each one. And so they're kind of like reinterpretations of everything. But the crazy thing, it's very good. The wild thing is it has 6.8 million views on YouTube. Compared to the overall series sales for Rhythm Heaven is 5.18. So more people, in theory, kind of sort of, have watched this YouTube video than have played a Rhythm Heaven game, which is...
Isn't that kind of true about every game, I feel like?
That the fan project is... Well, but this is like for
that it's been watched. I guess I get what you mean, like a fan thing loved more than the main thing.
Yeah. That's a good question. What games do they have more Let's Play views than actual people who bought it?
I think almost every game.
Every game.
That's...
Even your like freaky tomato game you play.
Look, Tomato Adventure is a noble gentleman's game. We all agree.
I bet Five Nights at Freddy's. I bet the people who watch it comparable to playing it.
Yes.
Yeah. BBAT writes in, they say, hey, Mins and Maxes, why is red the universal sign for bad/stop and green the sign for good/go?
Because green looks like leaves.
Yeah, it's life. It's life.
Say more, Kyle.
Yeah.
Justify what you've said here.
Leaves, good.
Leaves can be red.
But then they're bad because they're dying.
I was thinking that too.
I do like a red leaf.
Everyone loves the red leaf.
But the leaves turn red because they're like, don't come over here. We're going to die pretty soon.
So stay inside.
Go away.
What? Okay. I know you're gamers, but you need to have some basic understanding of how trees work.
Yeah, I'm telling you, that's how they work. If they say go away in the fall, go back inside. It's getting cold.
You climb them and you do a handstand on top of them.
Yes.
What else do we need?
Green is out. And then red is bad because of blood, right? Like if our blood was green, then green would be good or better, like Yoda. Anyways, Drake. Let's see. Brian W. Brian W. writes in. They say, "What is one of your favorite things, but you rarely get to experience it?"
I
Joy.
Wow.
Why is that so real? Oh man.
Stop, Kyle.
Bold
you heard
yet
us.
true.
Well, I was
you know.
going to say roller coasters, but that's kind of the same thing.
Yes, yeah. How often, if you could like snap your fingers or go on a roller coaster, you think you'd go on one every day?
Yeah, I think so. I think once a day I would do a roller coaster. In fact, I'm so sad because like one of my only desires is that I was going to go to Six Flags and bunch of roller coasters, and I just didn't make it happen. And it's nobody's fault but my own, and that makes it worse.
Yeah.
If it can be any coaster, I would do the snap. But if it's only like hardcore coasters, I don't think I would, because I love like fun rides, and I love big coasters too. But a big coaster every day would be just stressful.
Well, okay, you get to snap.
Snapping for the cyclone every day over here. No, thank you.
You get to snap, but you don't get to pick the coaster you're going on. You're just driving.
That sounds like okay.
But it's a different one every time.
See, you ruined it. Yeah.
So my partner and one of his friends play a game called Make It Whack, where they theoretically they'll say something good, and then the other one has to like find a way to make it whack.
Perfect.
So I feel like you just did that with like you can snap and go on a coaster, but you can't pick which one it is.
I mean, it's
like,
not going to be.
you made it whack.
It's not going to be like a decrepit coaster that's like unfinished or something. Like,
I didn't think I'd die. You know,
you won't die on any of them. It would be just so fun. To
also,
like,
when you snap and end up on like what is it? It's a Wonderful Life or whatever. It's like I don't know. I got to shell a half an hour in my life for this thing. That's
Is that a roller coaster?
I feel like it's a ride. I don't know.
There's a roller coaster based on It's a Wonderful Life.
Well, I guess it's more.
Zuzu's Petals.
Yeah.
Okay.
Small World.
That's more of a dark.
But also, isn't it technically on tracks in some way? Like
it's not roller
or it's
coaster,
like getting
though.
pulled in some way. Like I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
just
like
too
it's a
enamored
ride.
with the idea of a ride with Jimmy Stewart.
We all.
I would take that.
Wonderful Life,
You
Small
go
World.
across
It's
the
all
bridge,
the same.
you know.
We all
It's the
sound
rise,
like
Mary, the rise. Hold your hands up, Mary.
we all sound like Jimmy Stewart when we're going up a roller coaster because like as you're going up to the top.
It's too high.
I have not seen It's a Wonderful Life, by the way, so I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Oh, you gotta go see it.
The moon, Mary.
It's
look up
the best.
I feel like I've already
Jimmy's-
seen it now.
Look
though.
up like
That's
best
it.
Jimmy Stewart lines, and you'll have the impression down in like I don't know 2 minutes.
I think I'll
of
look
doing
at the
that.
IMDb trivia.
there you go.
Oh, there's gonna be a lot, dude. That movie genuinely rules, Janet. It's so good.
Yeah, but it only got popular because they forgot to renew the television rights for it. So TV stations would play the movie on Christmas because it was free, and that's how it became popular.
There we go.
See, this is the kind of stuff you get with Kyle's obsessive IMDb trivia.
Hell yeah.
Wow.
why we
Or
keep
an
you around.
intro class to media studies in America.
I think that's where I
free
watched
for
it the
me.
first
I
time.
made money.
That's true.
IMDb for me, it's 2 things that I enjoy, but I rarely get to experience. I feel like once every 6 years, I'll have an Orange Julius. I'm like, I should have these more often. They're so good. They're so freaking good. And then the other one, it's just tough to find a good spot, at least maybe in the Twin Cities, but like cliff jumping. Not radical, absurd stuff, but just like cliff jumping to the point that it's so high, it freaks you out a little bit. That's like something I started to
jump
enjoy.
off a cliff. You're a father now, Hanson. You can't be doing this anymore.
Not onto
You just
dirt.
gotta do roller coasters. You need to get one of those roller coasters that's a drop.
Yeah.
Same vibe.
I guess it's
Safety
close.
harness.
Yeah, I was thinking like, should
What,
we
what
put?
if you could snap your fingers as you jump, and then which cliff you're jumping off changes?
I would take that gamble. How many cliffs could there be? How tall could those cliffs possibly be? All right. Anybody else got anything that they enjoy?
Swimming in the ocean.
Swimming in the ocean.
You could have that. You could do that
Not
daily.
Minnesota.
When was the last time?
Well-
Lake Superior is an ocean.
Seems like you found the problem.
When was the last time you swam in the ocean, Jeff?
When my wife and I went to Maui, which I guess is sad
Because that was.
because they don't have oceans anymore.
That's right.
Okay.
When was that though?
I don't know, probably like 6 years ago.
Oh God. Yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day about like, it was like, oh, this is really some good peak life stuff was when I was in Hawaii in January and I was swimming out in the ocean and there was a sea turtle and like being underwater with a sea turtle like 6 feet away from you, just like swimming next to it. It's like, well, this is tough to beat this. That's about as cool as it gets. So everybody go swim with a turtle, but don't touch them. Let's see. What do y'all like for question of the week?
I like the robot question.
I like robots. Yep.
It didn't
I like
generate a lot of
robots.
conversation, but I like the eggs. Everyone
Yep.
had a different answer.
Eggs is good. Eggs is good.
But we do a lot of food, so maybe not.
It's a good sci-fi week. I like robot. I don't know if
I
everybody
like
else has a
robots,
strong.
yeah. I learned about
Robots.
Chloe the clown.
Chloe does look cool.
That's right.
Look it up.
Okay.
Uncle Simon or
Yeah, don't forget it. There we go. Slick James, everybody. Congratulations. You won the Behind the Frame vinyl soundtrack from My Mate. But now it's time for something that we prefer to call Get a Load of This.
It's weird not hearing it.
I know,
I got
right?
so used to hearing
You
it.
can hear it in your soul now. Okay, Jenna, what do you have for Get a Load of This?
I get a load of this is I've been rereading 1984, and this book slaps. It's an incredible book. It really slaps.
really good.
1984 slaps. I don't know if in the last time any of y'all read it. I presume I just take for granted that anybody who was raised in the American school system probably had to read it at some point. But it's worth revisiting. It's really good. It's incredibly well written. It's so easy to read, but it has such interesting and complex thoughts. I am working on a video essay for my video essay channel that is going to end up involving a lot more of this book than I thought it was going to be when I started rereading it. But it's just really good. Highly recommended.
I remember I had a weird experience reading it because my dad like sat me down on his knee and told me the story of 1984 when I was a wee lad. And I remember he said, I'm trying to remember if I might be flipping it, but he said, he's like, yeah, so it's all about this terrible society and it's super controlling and there's one guy and he just can't get out, but then they tear the terrible evil society down and they rebuild, but then they accidentally rebuild and it's exactly the same. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I read the book and remember correctly, that does not happen. They do not win in the end in any way, right? Okay.
No
all right, good.
spoilers. That's
Yeah.
but in the context of the book and what I'm going to talk about with the book, that's a really funny thing for him to have done.
All right. Interesting.
Let me reimagine this book for you with a happy ending.
Right, but then also is it twist happy? It's confusing. Let's see. Get a load of this. Our friends over there at Good Vibes Gaming, they have that YouTube channel. We've had guests of theirs over on our shows with Steve Bowling and whatnot. But they had a video that I just loved. I'm a sucker for this clean headline, which is the Wii feature. Oh, this Wii feature beats Switch, PS5, and Xbox. I feel like they changed the title. I forget what it was before. The point is, it's all about the message board system on the original Wii, and specifically how you could take screenshots before the generation where we all think that, oh, you can take easy screenshots, starting with PS4 and Xbox One and obviously Switch and all that stuff. But they were talking about like how certain games on the Wii you could take screenshots for, like Kirby's Epic Yarn, the re-release of Metroid Prime, Pokemon Snap. On the Wii Virtual Console, you could take screenshots and it would go to your Wii message board, which I completely forgot. But they were talking about like just how cool the message board was for certain games would use it in a really interesting way. Like there's a horror game called The Calling or Calling. Do you remember this one, Kyle?
No, I don't.
So it's an obscure horror game, but apparently there's like an optional jump scare deep in the game where just a crazy ghost lady would be like, jump out and scare you if you go down this one hallway a certain way or something. And if you trigger that kind of obscure jump scare from this wild person in the game, wild ghost, then you get a new message in your Wii message board, and it's like a red message, and it just says, "I found you." And it's like one of the few games that actually like sends a message like this. And it's just this deep cut horror game trying to take advantage of that Wii message board system in a more unique way. So
And it's evil because it was in red.
That's exactly
I was thinking
right.
that, actually.
Stay away from it.
It's like blood.
Blood. Kyle, what do you got?
Hey, get a load of this. In 1992, after a series of meetings, Whoopi Goldberg made a verbal agreement with producer Richard Gilbert Aberson to star in the film for $5 million plus back end. No, I'm not going to read all that. I don't know if this is true, but
A great way to start.
Yeah, I didn't research this, but on Reddit I saw this thing. Get a load of this. It hasn't happened since 1936, but a reminder that if an NHL game goes to a 6th overtime, they drop the second puck.
What?
No.
Shut
No.
up.
Like, what?
We need more of this kind of chaos.
Yeah.
I want that to be true, but I don't know.
And then there was a follow-up. Again, I didn't research or confirm any of this.
We don't
But they
care.
said, per rules, in the event of a 7th overtime, which has never happened, 5 pucks are in play. And a face-off is taken simultaneously at all 5 face-off circles, with each team playing 15 players plus goaltenders at once.
I like it. See, hockey seems cool because like they already have a little bit of that energy. Even just like the pulling the goalie thing. It's like that's one of the few sports rules that I learned. It's like that's a cool idea. Like if you want to risk it, you can have your goalie just skate out and do whatever they want, but your goal's on guard.
And one more quick, and then this is the last one. Rules for an 8th overtime, which again has never happened in the NHL, are sealed inside a red envelope, which has not been opened since 1917.
In a Wii message board? Oh my god!
So
they should make this the first over. All of this should happen in the first
start with that
overtime.
But no confirmation if that's true. Please let us know in the comments. But I love all that. That's like, should I start watching hockey?
Absolutely.
How can we rig this?
I'm into overtime hockey only. Janet, what do you got?
Get a load of this. As the resident Horizon stan, I do have to shout out that there's going to be a Horizon cookbook called Taste of the Seven Tribes. And also someone in the reply said, raccoon casserole about to go off, which is hilarious. I love these snarky little replies. But I am curious as to, cooking plays a big role in that game, depending on how you play it, I guess. So yeah, and I like game cookbooks. So we'll see if I can snag a copy of this. I think it comes out like in April, but it's up for pre-order now. So
Sweet. Jeff,
get a load of this. This was a YouTube video from a streamer named Punchy, and it was called "Can You Beat Resident Evil 2 Without Walking?" And it's like a full kind of breakdown of like just the mechanisms behind it, and him trying to figure out if you can do it. And he weaves it into a really interesting and entertaining story about his playthrough trying to do it.
Sweet.
nice. I love those.
Did you pull one from the community, Jeff, by chance?
I did.
Sweet.
Get a load of this.
I will.
Part 2. This is from, Nick from Exoprimal. And it is an Inquirer article that's entitled, "A Group of Philadelphians Erased $1.6 million in Local Medical Debt." And the idea is basically like this group of friends got together and they raised $17,000, and that was enough to buy $1.6 million worth of medical debt. And then they just burned it all and said, those people don't have to pay it, because apparently once medical debt gets to a point where the hospitals haven't been able to collect it and they don't think they will be able to, they just auction it off for pennies on the dollar, and apparently anyone can buy it.
Why would you buy it?
Which seems...
Because you can buy it for extremely cheap and then forgive that debt, so the people who owe an extreme amount of medical debt that they will never be able to pay off don't have to worry about it anymore.
So that other collection agencies don't buy it instead and use heavy-handed tactics.
So there is some darker side to it. It's not just a generous thing that hospital offers.
That's where it usually goes to, but these people just said, hey, why don't we just buy it ourselves and then just forgive it?
Cool. Yeah. There we go.
So it's part of a larger group called RIP Medical Debt, and it genuinely is they buy medical debt for significantly relatively little amount, and then forgive it so that people who are suffering from a huge amount of medical debt don't have to worry about that, while also suffering from pretty major debilitating diseases and things.
Is it a nonprofit? Do they take donations and stuff? That's cool.
Yeah. And they do a lot of local community work. So the one that you're referencing in particular, and you can find them, it's RIP Medical Debt. It's really worth looking up. RIP Medical Debt. And this is what they do, is that they support people buying local medical debt for their community. And it's they help facilitate that. And then you can buy it for $1,000 and then save somebody else $10,000 worth of money. So it's really cool. It's working to fight a really insane system of medical debt that we have in this.
It's a heartwarming story that only exists because we live in a dystopia. So
sure.
Yeah.
Kind of a theme of this.
Hey, time for plugs, everybody. Let's turn this dystopia into a utopia. Jenna, what would you like to plug?
I am going to be at PAX this weekend.
Yeah.
PAX West. I'm a special guest, so I'll be on some panels. I'll be hosting the PAX panel show, which is going to be a lot of fun. It's me and just the whole staff of Giant Bomb, basically. Friday, 8 p.m. at the Blue Jay Theater. Saturday, I'm going to be running a debate club with Shelby and Matt from Girlfriend Reviews. So I'm going to be facilitating that Saturday at 3:30 at the Blue Jay Theater. And then I'm going to be on the Jackbox panel on Sunday at 3 o'clock at the main theater.
Do you play Jackbox on the panel?
Yes, we're playing not just Jackbox, but new Jackbox games that are never before seen.
Do you get time with the games before? Because I can't imagine anything scarier than playing a new Jackbox game where you're expected to know the rules and or be funny in front of a crowd.
They are demoing them at PAX, so if I can get away, and I'm going to make the time because of exactly what you're describing. I'm going to try to test them out before doing it live for the first time on stage.
Sweet. Speaking of PAX, Jenna Garcia will be there as well. Kelsey Lewin will be there. Kelsey is going to be stationed in the Pink Gorilla booth, her game store, but you can go say hello to any of them, I presume. Janet, how are you feeling about PAX?
Excited. It's always fun to see people. It's interesting because this will be one of my chiller PAXs. I'm really just doing the Nintendo live vlog and then hanging out. So I'm excited to not be doing as much work as I normally am doing when I go to PAX. Should be fun.
Sweet. So please say hi. Yeah, and then we're going to be checking out Nintendo Live, which is their space, the first time bringing it to the States and whatnot. So we'll be making a travelogue all about that stuff. Let's see, on the MinnMax side of things, we have the deepest dive in Armored Core 6 happening right now. Again, check that out on YouTube or in the bonus podcast feed. It's a very, very great conversation about Armored Core 6 so far. Also, if you like big spoiler discussions, Baldur's Gate 3 Act 1. We just posted Max Spoilers all about that. It is with Haley McLean and Sarah Podzorski, and they dive in deep on all things Act 1, Baldur's Gate 3. It's funny, there's so many YouTube comments that are like, I love Baldur's Gate 3, and I had no idea all this stuff was possible. Everybody has such a wildly different path, especially through Act 1, that it's fun to hear a spoiler discussion about that. So again, that's on YouTube or in the bonus podcast feed. Also, shout out to Haley McLean, our community manager, because she won, her show won the New Show Plus show this week. And it is truly one of the wildest but best New Show Plus shows we've ever had, where it is Haley, who's a lawyer, walking through the fine print details of end user license agreements and like what you should know about them and comparing different game companies' end user license agreements. Like if you're a nerd for law or just a nerd for people who really know their stuff, you should check out that Neutral Plus episode with Haley. It's up on YouTube right now. It's fun. But let's see. In the bonus podcast feed, if you're a Patreon supporter, you got The Deepest Dive for Armored Core 6. You have Baldur's Gate 3, Max Spoilers. You have Party Chat, our weekly bonus podcast. And then also, this Friday, we will be posting the full video game spelling bee that we recorded last weekend. We were at 2DCon in Minneapolis, and thanks to everybody who came out and said hi. We recorded a full video game spelling bee, and it was myself and Leo Vader and Sarah Pajorski, and the special guest was Dan Reichert from Giant Bomb, who loves video game and spelling. And Jeffem, believe it or not, Dan Reichert really wanted to compete in the video game spelling bee, but he genuinely wins standard spelling bees. They have like a drinking spelling bee in Minneapolis here, and Dan does absurdly well at it. Like he's a really good speller. And it's like, you can't just throw him in the mix. He's going to dominate everybody. So we made a custom Dan lane of words that he had to spell, which were, they were medium level words from some of his favorite games of all time. But the twist, Jeffem, was he could choose to try and spell a word whenever he wanted. And every word he got right, he got a Starburst, his favorite candy. But if he spelled the word wrong, I plucked out one of his giant stupid beard hairs. On the panel. So if you want to hear Dan Reichert gamble with his video game spelling abilities and also a bunch of nice people competing in video game spelling bee, that is in the bonus podcast feed if you're a supporter. There's also a video version up this Friday. So you can unlock all that stuff. And a reminder, you get a free Xbox game if you support us at any tier on Patreon, even that $2 tier. Thursday or Friday, we'll ship you an Xbox code via Patreon messaging for the first 220 people at least that sign up. I don't think we'll crack that, but I'd be amazed and humbled if we did. Anything else anybody wants to plug?
Yeah, I got a plug, and then I also have a quick question.
Please.
Drinking spelling bee.
Yeah.
Do you drink when you get it right? Do you drink when you get it wrong? Or are you just drinking the whole time?
Yep.
What is that?
If you get it, this is in Minneapolis, the 331 Club. If you get it right, you get another free drink ticket. So you don't have to drink on stage. It's just you get the reward for getting to the next round is you get it. And so
I thought these were people progressively getting drunker actively while also like slur spell. Okay.
You are. If you keep up with the tickets, you are at least. Yeah.
Nice. My plug is that I am on a new podcast. This many was not enough, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm doing the Indie Council podcast. It's me, it's Jill from Indie Informer, it's Mike from 61 Indie, and it's Jenny, aka Kim Chica, who does like a bunch of different work in influencer marketing and a million other pieces of content. Yeah, it is mostly weekly. I think we missed the last like 1 or 2 weeks because of weird schedule stuff, but it's news, it's game recommendations, it's deep dives into topics related to the indie industry. And across the four of us, we have people from PR, marketing, influencer work, development, community management, content creation, and more. So if you're looking to get into indie stuff or to hear more about the indie space, I recommend searching The Indie Council. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcasts. It's like throughout YouTube on our different channels individually. At me if you can't find it. I will send you a direct link because the search isn't all the way up there yet. You know, it's a pretty new podcast, only a couple episodes. But check it out. Currently 5 stars on Spotify of 7 reviews. Sure.
Damn.
A dub's a dub.
Yeah,
so come through.
And the name one more time is?
The Indie Council.
The Indie Council. Check it out, everybody. And thank you to everybody who supports us on Patreon, especially people who support us at the $50 tier on Patreon, the Game Champion tier. You're at that tier. You're in the description for every MinnMax video and podcast with the game you're officially the champion of. And you could be just like Malcolm Holliday, who is the champion of Breath of Fire 3. TrampolineTales is the champion of Luck Be a Landlord, which is their own game. Patrick Polk is the champion of Exoprimal. Zachary Pligge, of course, is the champion of Superman 64. PrettyGoodPrinting.com, our dear friends over there, they're the champion of Jazz Jackrabbit. And Clemens Zobel is the champion of the game that I feel like we all forgot existed way too soon. Sid Meier's Civilization Beyond Earth, officially the champion. Great pick. All right, that's it. Thanks so much, everybody. Jenna, nice to hear your voice again. Thanks for everything you did and everything you did in this episode as well.
Thank you.
Sweet. And we'll see you next week, folks, for more Starfield talk and a whole lot more. So until next time, be good, have fun, let's go.